Feisty, do you hear me?
Hello?
Hello.
Sorry, I had my mic off.
Yeah, no problem. It happens. A lot to me in particular. How do I do this? Oh, yes, I remember. Oh.
Hello.
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 How are you, man?
I'm doing good. I had to get me a bottle of water real quick, just in case.
Yeah, go ahead.
Coffee doesn't do good, and hot chocolate just dries out my throat as well. So
I can't live without my coffee.
Yeah.
I've never taken to it.
Coffee is always good, man.
I disagree. I had a bad experience at a young age with coffee, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to really drink it. And I've drank it a little bit socially with friends. It's like alcohol. Socially, occasionally, rarely. Blue Moon.
No, man. No, you don't know.
I do know.
Coffee, it's the beverage of the gods, okay?
Agreed.
Tiramisu. Now that's from the gods. That's from the gods.
It's nice in a cake.
Well, there's some wine in there too. There's a little bit of wine that makes it real good. A little bit, not too much.
Yeah.
But so comic shops, the state of the comic industry, as it were.
Sorry.
Okay, that was weird.
What was that?
It was a reverb. I think it might have been. Yeah, it sounded like beginning of Back to the Future. Marty hooked up to the giant amp.
Let me.
It exploded on him.
Let me see. Hello, testing. Do you hear it?
You're coming in fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you're fine here.
I think it was just a hiccup or something, but
I don't know what I did.
So,
Feisty, would you care to tell us something about yourself, not giving away your true identity, but your store?
Where do you want me to start? I mean, I've been a comic book fan since I was 6 years old. I'm
that's
over my 30s now, so.
What got you into comics though? What was it?
Just
show?
A free chick.
It was my father took me to a comic book shop when I was starting to really get into reading, and I saw Wolverine being the tomboy that I was just like, that guy, and so I got a couple Wolverine comics. So
X-Men seems to be a gateway right there. I've noticed that more and more. X-Men seems to be such a gateway, especially if you're born, like say between 75 and like 90. Even like let's say like late 90s, especially that because it had that cool look to it. Like I knew somebody that got into comics and it was around the Byrne Claremont era with Colossus. Like they saw Colossus, this giant metal dude with like the red and yellow, the pointy costume. He's like, I like that guy. He's like, not Wolverine, but Colossus. But hey, everybody has their faves.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I've in the local comic book shop that I currently am working at the last 2 weeks. I was a customer there for about 4 years before I started working there. So I've seen the trends. I've seen, stuff sell. I've seen stuff not sell. So.
Yeah. And this is a heavy question. Okay. How was the ratio men to women as customers?
We're actually pretty lucky. We have probably one woman for every 15 to 20 men that would walk into the store.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually have a big female community at our shop.
I would say that's not a big community.
That's surprising you say that because the shop I go to, I was there yesterday, and I'd say it'd be about 1 in 12. I'd say about 1 in 12, and it's not just like a woman coming in with her boyfriend or something, or brother sister kind of thing, or friends, what have you. It seems like women coming in solo, picking up their books, A lot of the.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like well, I mean, it's also in a part of it's right on a corner, and across the street's a coffee shop and a cheesesteak place, and it's parking garage is right, like not even a quarter of a block away, so it's like perfect position than it was the last location. But yeah, a lot of traffic. It's a lot more traffic in this new location. It's a little smaller, but a lot more traffic. So I guess that was one of those trade ups. You get smaller location, but you get more foot traffic. So.
Yeah, no, but we do have a lot of female female customer base, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. It's free to be. It's cheap, easy to be a fan. Free to be a fan. It costs to be a customer. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, wait, no, we have customers at my store. So.
Well, and so, what would you say was selling in the last year or so?
Oh, DC by far. Absolutely.
Even with the Marvel push, you didn't see like uptick in like say Squirrel Girl and the Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel stuff.
We actually started ordering less after the whole lenticular fiasco. We're like, am I able to swear on here or should I keep it?
Oh, please.
Give you the big like fuck you to Marvel because of what we've been doing. So we were ordering very, very low, like just pretty much subscribers and maybe 3 or 4 copies for the wall, because. We went all in for the first couple rounds of the lenticulars, and then seeing that we had, maybe a box of 150 copies of Legacy sitting there behind the, it's just like, okay, well, where's this big, push and reader base that Marvel was talking about that this was going to happen? And, we still have lenticular so we changed our ordering habits after that whole thing to basically, enough to cover subscribers and like a couple issues extra for the wall, if that. Yeah.
And indies,
the big ones like Walking Dead, we would we were very
that stuff. No,
we sell some Dark Horse, but normally it's just like if somebody doesn't have a subscription to it, we either don't order it or we order 1 or 2 copies.
All right.
Yeah, so we definitely changed our ordering habits. Or if there was, we check the internet or whatever to see if something's got a buzz. Maybe put in a quick reorder before, ye old Diamond ran out of prints or copies. So.
Fuck Diamond cut off and stuff. Yeah.
Fuck Diamond too.
No, fuck Diamond. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, Diamond's damn monopoly in Marvel and DC that they shut down the Department of Justice investigation against them because it was a monopoly. They were going to trust bust it and break it up, but they did that, and the legal stuff, the legalities, it would cause chaos within the comics community. It's already it's a patient that's in coma since the 90s. The comics industry has really basically been on death's door since the 90s. We've just been, it'll like, oh, I see its eye fluttering, and when I talk to it, it squeezes my hand, but that's about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Marvel is trying to get it out of life support.
Yeah, they're unintentionally killing it. It's like we're gonna increase its salt.
Unintentionally, I would think they are doing it on purpose, but well,
you have some crazy nurses. You have the crazy nurses and doctors like that want to kill it because of communism or socialism.
Because we are wrong fans.
Well, no, I'm gonna say socialism as well. Look at
this is no.
It's not. Well, it's not just one thing. It's
here's the thing. I think they are willing to burn it to the ground, just as long as we don't have to get it. Okay. They think it must be a platform for their propaganda.
That's what I'm saying. It's communism.
Yeah, and that's completely true. For instance, X-Men Gold #1. After 3 hours of it being out, we pulled our copies off the shelf to sell on eBay because they were selling for $30 on eBay because of the controversy. At that moment, that is not a comic book. That is propaganda.
Yeah.
That I don't think creators understand that when you push a political agenda or even an idea or something that's, you know, not related to what a character is about, it's propaganda. It's no longer a piece of entertainment, it's a piece of propaganda.
Yeah, and they could do it, and they have done it before in other books, in other times, but they knew how to breach the subject, you know. In Hard Traveling Heroes, you might remember it, Larry.
Mm-hmm.
It was Green Lantern and Green Arrow traveling together across the United States.
Yeah, the infamous the black man in the South whose face has been
exactly that one.
Abused,
exactly that one.
And it's like you all hear you helping out the purple skins and the green skins and the blue skins, but you're not helping out people with the black skin. What are you doing? And I understand that kind of stuff. Actually, I hate that. I hate the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, because it's like when you bring up true like inequalities and injustices within the world, the real world. And when in comic book world where you could fix this stuff, you could actually have Green Lantern who was trying to remake Coast City after its destruction, and the Green Lantern Corps was like, no, you can't do that. And he went nuts and killed him, and they said they retconned his parallax. No, like the idea is like, I've been helping out the world, I've been helping out this universe, and what have I got for it? Nothing. My people, my home is gone, my people are gone, the people I love are gone. I'm gonna try to make this better. No, you can't do that. So he goes crazy. So I'm like, it kind of, it's the same thing with like, why doesn't Superman create a cure for cancer or stuff like that? It's like, because I'm just trying to imagine, oh, somebody I know has cancer, and then I'm reading this comic. Well, Superman has a cure for cancer. Everything's better. It's like, I don't want to read a comic about that. I don't need, like, I was like, hey, how about Superman fighting a robot from the 6th dimension that wants to take the world's water? That kind of stuff. Hey, I like that. It's escapism. I can't really escape when I'm reading a comic where you got to see a woman losing her hair because she has like Superman has a cure for cancer, but this evil businessman wants to get control of it.
I know.
I don't need that. I don't want that.
The thing is, they did it they weren't preaching you. And if I remember correctly, I haven't read that issue in a long time, but if I remember correctly, Green Lantern explains he can't do that in his world because he's a cop and he has rules to follow.
But how they consider that, probably, considering how law enforcement's perceived, especially in modern times.
Well,
like,
that
would definitely be a
what
issue.
I mean is they use it to, for instance, the X-Men. They were the perfect analogy for every minority you could dream of.
Yeah. Right? Exactly.
And now they have Ororo Storm. They made her a black separatist.
Well, that's the thing about the X-Men. The X-Men's been weird. Understand, like where you could first off, it was it was like the Magneto, Xavier. It was the Martin Luther King Jr. versus the Malcolm X ideologies. And there was like that aspect of it, and it's like, well, with the comic book kind of lens, and like they hate and they fear, but it's like within like if you want to the true world of the X-Men, like you would be right to fear mutants. Fear mutants, like you got the mutants that can't do nothing, like Beak. He just looks like a giant chicken. But then you have mutants like Magneto, who, if you have, like, say, you're standing near a manhole cover, he could take that and rip it through you, or take you a necklace around your neck. He could just tear it off and decapitate you. That kind of stuff. It's like there are scary mutants out there. It's like
and then you have Barf.
Who?
Barf.
Who's Barf?
Oh, come on!
I don't know Barf. I don't know that.
The guy that barfs up the Cosmic Cube.
I have no clue about that. That's like I got out of X-Men.
No, not in X-Men. It was in Secret Empire.
Oh, I didn't read that. I was the fortunate one.
Neither do I. But I saw the reviews.
But
well, anyway, Feisty.
I'm all like, that.
I know.
Anyway, this isn't about that. This is about.
This is about you.
Yes. This is about
I'm fine to listen. Go ahead.
We can do it any other time, and we can go all geek. But what I wanted is for you to tell us exactly how many people are going to be out of a job.
2. We have my boss, and then it's me, and then another employee. But it's not really so much about that. It's about, yesterday, because we announced on Tuesday that we were closing our doors, and God, yesterday was probably one of the hardest days I've ever had to work. I did a lot of my, I guess, coping or crying most of the time on what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday morning before I had to be at work. And but yeah, no, hearing people get really sad, but understanding. That's mostly what I'm concerned about is the community, because we have such a great customer base. Believe it or not, like a lot of people are like, oh, do you have to deal with? Yeah, there's like maybe 2 out of the 250 subscribers we have. It's like they're high maintenance, but like the majority of them are pretty cool. Like they're really passionate about the hobby. I guess or yeah, you would call comic book collecting or comic book reading a hobby, I suppose.
Yes, it's a hobby.
Yeah, just and I'm concerned about them and them not, because one of the staples of what people said yesterday was like, this is like my second home, and that like probably cut me the deepest. It's just, these people that I see every week, knowing them so well that if a new book comes out, I can throw it in their poll, and more than often they'll get it and they'll be excited, be like, hey, thanks for thinking of me. Like not a lot of people go above and beyond for customers. And even and that's another thing too, is a lot of people like, wow, we actually got a hello. And I strive for I'm a customer service snob myself. So if I don't have good customer service, I tend not to go back or be a repeat customer.
Yeah, so, the people that work in customer related dealing with the customer tend to become like that.
Yeah,
if you don't get service, you don't go back.
Yeah, and that's another thing is like, oh wow, yeah, people, and like when people would ask for a book, and I'm like, I don't know, I'd leave from behind the counter, walk them over to the back issue section, and like actually find what they're looking for. But the look of astonishment on their face more than often is like, they're like, oh wow, you didn't have to show. I was like, why wouldn't I show you? That's like my job. You're here for comic books. Yeah, so it's like, I don't know if that's another thing that I felt like our competitor, it's the very elitist over there. Like, if you're not in, you don't belong. It's like, why? That's coming from a sales mentality. It's like, why would you want to push paying customers away from your establishment? Aren't you here to make money? Like, I don't know. It's weird.
that actually reminds me of the comic book store I used to frequent. And
yet your store is closing, and there's a note.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was about to say, that reminds me of the store I frequent. I used to frequent. They had to have the same issue. You'd have that. You'd kind of have to get past the guards at the gate. You had to prove your worth as a comic book reader, as a customer, as it were, and anybody else, like new customers, instead of having new people walking in the door as a potential customer, and instead of actually treating them with, hey, if I can help you, don't be too pushy. Don't be like a Best Buy employee where you just looking at the DVD and like, can I help you? I'm like, if I look like I need help, or I'm like looking at you like, hey, I need some help, then offer it. But don't be like, hovering around me. But this store was just it was bad. So I went to this new one, and the new one, like two brothers bought the shop from a guy who was getting out of the comic book business. I think has a family issue, so they bought the shop. They like living in a crap apartment, for a while till the shop kind of got out its own legs, and they built it up. They took everything, and they are just like yesterday. There was a guy come in looking for some comics for his kids, trying to make sure they're not too sexual, not too violent, stuff like that. And the guy at the store, everybody was at lunch, and so he was the only one there. So he's having to answer the phone, take care of order stuff, and be at the register. And I'm like, but he was being extremely helpful, and and not be like, you don't want this, or like mocking somebody's choices. And I've been to stores.
Oh God, yes, that. That drives me crazy.
Oh God, yeah.
Really flip them the finger, man.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so that's a potential buy right there. And I put a comic down. It was a Dark Horse Presents. It was like a $3 issue, Dark Horse Presents, that actually had a David Lynch comic strip in it that he had done. And I wanted it just because of that. And the guy, the clerk at the store, who of course had the ear gauge things, had spiked hair, shaved sides, the hipster glasses, the captain's beard, all that stuff. Well, I mean, it's the typical look. I understand.
I'm like, wait, we had one, but like before I started working there was a guy, but he was really cool and really helpful. So that, you know,
this
don't judge a book by its cover.
Well, not all.
It's not, hashtag not all, you know, that kind of thing. But this guy in particular, he like, you're gonna get this really, you're gonna waste your money on this. No, like, and he wouldn't even like, I'm like, understand, talk, okay, whatever, thinking these things. Maybe he had some kind of internal monologue issue, couldn't keep it inside, but wouldn't ring me up. So I just walked out of the store that day. I said, I'll be back maybe next week. And he got all upset and everything. It was like bombarding my email. Like, what did you just leave it here for? I'm like, this guy's out of his mind. And I actually was going to buy that. I was going to go in with some friends and buy that shop. And he worked there as like the #1 guy under the owner. The owner had a death in the family, and his father was doing bad. Obviously, he wanted to go ahead and get out of the store. The store didn't have a proper lease. They didn't have an actual written legal binding lease. They just had like a spoken, a verbal agreement with the owner of the property. So that, and that guy that refused to sell me the comic, he was actually selling his own collection to the store. Then they would basically, he was not laundering money through the store, but he was kind of like taking money out of the till almost. The way the books looked. I was able to look at the books. I was like, this store ain't gonna be around much longer, and it wasn't. I stopped going there the day before Thanksgiving back in 2008. The store, I'm not mistaken, is no longer there. It changed. I think in that fashion, it might have, the name might have got picked up, but I think that that was just like, you know, kind of a bankruptcy kind of deal or something. Like somebody just balled it up. But you know, that happens though. I mean, you get bad customer service, and it can, you know, turn you away from coming back to a store. You know, and that could, you know. But you seem like you had like a proper, you know, way of taking care of, you know, like customers coming in and being. Like,
here's the thing, okay?
Excited.
I don't like the salespeople hovering over me.
Yeah. No, but it's like, hey, how's it going?
Help,
let me know if you need help. Like that's, you know.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
like that. So, but if I need help, then they should be able to. No, James Brown was saying that defensive customer service. What is that?
Defensive customer service?
Yeah, like, he was, I don't know what he's talking about. He says Best Buy.
Oh, the Best Buy stuff where, like, if you're standing there and if you're say the DVD or Blu-ray aisle, sometimes you get good deals. Like I was looking at the Universal Monsters, they put them on the old, you know, the black and white, you know, Bride of Frankenstein, all that. They put them on Blu-ray on steelbooks and like Best Buy exclusive steelbooks with Alex Ross painting covers to it.
Oh yeah,
which is really cool. And I was just looking through it and like everything, like and checking, see if they had actually all of them because they were missing Bride of Frankenstein and the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Can I help you? I'm good. I'm just looking. Well, if you need any help, I'll help you. I'm like, you don't have to prove your worth to me. If I need help, I'll ask. You know, but that's the thing. It's like, you know, maybe that's a part of their.
Well, but they were there for you asking, you know.
But it just seemed it's way too aggressive.
Well, maybe I get. How do I say it? I worked in the restaurant business for a long time. Okay, most of my life, actually. And the worst service is of two kinds. The waiter is never there, or the waiter is always there. And the best kind of service, you don't notice when the server is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You start turning around to ask for something, and he's there.
Yeah,
You're
that's rare
raising your
these days.
hand and he's there, but that's really rare. Okay, but that's the best waiter or waitress. Most people don't know how to do this. Most people go away or are on top of you.
And it's like, yeah, but that's how it is, though. I mean, that's but within the comic, store, the as a whole. I mean, it's like it's a community. It's like almost a little microcosm of people.
Yeah, it really is.
Like I don't know. I you probably would get some interesting folks coming through the door. Like you said there wasn't too many of the very picky people. I've ran into a few when I would every Wednesday, like from basically 2005 to 2008, actually, yeah, Thanksgiving 2008, almost every single Wednesday, I would basically be at that store when they opened, when they opened on that morning till after they closed, because they would be like it was calling order and everything. We put money together in a pool and like get like delivery at the store. And it was me and a couple other people and everything, about half a dozen people, sometimes a dozen, and get a couple pizzas, this and that. We just at near the closing, but you'd have people come in and you see the guys that come in. Oh, I'm not gonna pay for that comic you pulled because it's not Jim Mint 10. These they need a perfect and no creases, no wrinkles, no imperfections at all, because they're going to get it graded or something. I'm like, there's crazy people like that out there. It's like, well, not crazy, but as far as the meticulous, but yeah, but it's like that kind of thing. It did. And with your experience, did you ever have? I've seen in some stores. I haven't, like I said, I've only been to maybe 2 or 3 dozen in my life. That's mainly the East. That's basically the East Coast. And one in Wisconsin. But aggressive customers. I'm talking, they're whether did you ever have that kind of experience at the store?
What do you mean, like aggressive? How? Like?
Well, whether it be aggressive in taking out something like you have no control over, whether it be a diamond missing a shipment or a comic plot line, or something like the.
Not really. Like people, like if something doesn't ship or we are short something, they usually don't. Like, yeah, that's another thing. Is surprisingly, we have a lot of like chill as fuck customer. Like they're really understanding when something's out of stock, or especially, and like it's funny too because they're like, "Oh, you don't have this." I'm like, "Did you put it on your pull?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "There you go." So, like, I've kind of trained our customers to be really diligent about if they want something, they've got to let us know because we order to cater to them. So, I trained that is in, hey, if you're interested, you got to let us know because we're not going to order it unless you tell us to. So, luckily we haven't had any real aggressive people, though. There's been an occasion where a couple of people are complain about storylines or our art, but not necessarily. Yeah, but people don't get like overly angry for no apparent reason. Like everybody's pretty cool, chill, so we're lucky in that respect. Like I said, there's 2 maybe at our store that are really high maintenance, but even then it's just like, oh, books don't want creases, they don't want color breaks on the spine, mostly because they're collectors. And I'm like, I get that, I'm a collector too, so I try to find as pristine copy as I can, but most of the time I'm just like, okay, I read it, I'm done. So,
well, I'm a collector, but I never were the kind of to buy 2 of each.
Yeah, we don't have. Maybe there's a couple of people.
I buy one, and I read it, and if I love it, I have comics I have read, I don't know, 10 times, maybe more. So you can imagine how they are.
Yeah.
Well, as if you can, I mean, with not revealing like too much, or maybe you can't. Is there a particular reason your store is closing?
Oh yeah, like we couldn't like we went all in and over ordered stuff based on the hype that Marvel was making for a lot of their product. So yeah, we spent money on product that's not moving. So when that it's like okay, it's yeah, like again? We have like 200 copies of Legacy that are just sitting there. Like we can't give it away. Like we were trying to give them away for free comic book day, and people are like, no thanks, I already came in. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, okay, well then, it's we can't even give these issues away. Yeah, and just stuff that you order heavy on that you speculation, but no, it's mostly to do with not. There's no demand for it, so we either just copies of newer lines that don't sell. Like I remember a few years ago walking into the store and there would be like 35 copies or more of Spider-Man on the wall. Now we're lucky if there's like maybe 2 or 3 for the wall, because yeah, we slimmed our orders way down. But yeah, no, that's one of the reasons. And then another one, but if I say it, it'll give away too much. So
no.
Personal reasons or something. Okay, well, but so you could summarize it and maybe unfairly, but that Marvel helped kill your store.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Would they overship as well? I know I've heard my own store they've been overshipped. And did you personally experience that, or had your store personally experienced that?
Not so much with the overship. Like sometimes we would get a few extra copies here and there. It didn't happen so much as when I started working. Like, because I only started working there in the last year and a couple months. So, yeah, and that's another thing is like I've never worked at like in the year and a half I've worked there. I've never experienced having a job I actually love. Like. That's been a real revelation of like, so now I'm like, when I find my next job, I'm like, I kind of like, I don't care so much about the money. I care about my quality of life. And it kind of opened my eyes like, might enjoy doing something what I love instead of something that I just need to for money. But yeah, it's like not dreading to go to work every day. Like that's a foreign concept.
Been there, done that. Have the
but yeah, no, the overshipping doesn't happen often but I don't know what that was like. Well, that was like a couple years before that, because I know going through back issues and going through some of the back stock, like having 34 unsold copies of the #1 of Spider-Man. The Spider-Man with the Alex Ross covers. I think they started in 2016, early 2016.
I don't remember.
Yeah, poor man Stark, quote unquote.
Oh yes.
Yes, I know what.
Yeah, so like just having all these issues that supposedly Marvel was hyping, but there was no demand for them. So that's another having not selling through a comic book is terrible. Like
they made most of Spider-Man fans go away. I have over 10 years not buying any Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that was my first comic.
Yeah,
my first comic book was Spider-Man. A Mexican edition, but it was Amazing Fantasy number 15. In a Mexican edition, of course. It was called Spider-Man #1. That was my first comic. So you can guess if they did that to me, how many more fans they drove away with, thanks to Slot. Fuck you, Slot.
Well, blame Quesada. I blame Quesada first, because with the One More Day stuff.
Oh yes, too.
That right there, that was the beginning of the end.
The bunch. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, the Straczynski stuff didn't help none either, because I understand people love how reverent and the black issue, issue 36, with the World Trade Center. I felt that was in such bad taste. I read that, and I'm in North Carolina. I don't know anybody that lived in New York. I remember watching it the day it happened. I was at school, and
I do.
I was in the library.
My sisters.
Oh, one of your sisters was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Did she pass? I didn't know.
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
No.
But I read the issue, and in it, like this is I can understand maybe a blurb at the back of an issue or something. That's fine, but like like a one-page spread or something, like in the memories of those lost, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But a whole issue where you have a world of psychics, precogs, time travelers, and Doctor Doom, Magneto. Doctor Doom has destroyed stuff. Magneto is. I'm surprised they have Galactus crying as many times as he destroyed New York City. And then now you're taking this seriously, so people really died. It's like, nah, but because and that was a big seller. That was one of those that was moving for a lot of money, and that right there, I felt like such bad taste. Yes. And I saw it at my comic store, of course, had a copy at the time, the one I was going to, and I was like, "This just disgusting," But
yeah.
But that's one of those things. It's like But I'm one of the minority in that.
They are Sony at least had the good taste to take the scene of the movie.
The trailer out. Yeah. The where he traps in between the World Trade Centers. Yeah, they stopped showing that. I think they actually showed that during the Lord of the Rings. What was it, Lord of the Rings? Yeah, I think Lord of the Rings, the first one. That was like the trailer before the movie. That was like a big thing, and then that was like the teaser. But and they took that down.
It wasn't in the movie because what happened then.
Yeah. But
so they had the good taste to take it out.
Well, did you have any of that, Feisty? Did you ever have like those where you were reading, like you said, you've been going to the store for quite a while, and then working there too. Those moments where you pick up a comic and you're reading it, and you get that sinking feeling of like, oh no, don't go here, that kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. A lot with Spider-Man. What was it that I read? I can't remember the title, but yeah, no, I've had that a few times. Like, why would this even be an issue, or who says that, or like change, like the whole way Peter projects himself lately. It's just been like, are you in your 30s or are you like 17? I'm kind of confused. Or nobody, even a 17-year-old wouldn't say that. It's just I'm like, do people actually interact with like the ages that they write? Like, it's just kind of like, what?
No, they don't. They don't know anybody below 30. That's not a hipster, soy boy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with writers, I mean, like, other than maybe, like, I'm just saying, like,
they don't. You go read. Did you read Sideways?
Oh, I didn't. I didn't bother.
It's on my pile. I haven't read it yet.
Read it, okay? Here's the thing. The Sideways, the hero, it's a teenager. He's in high school or college. No, high school, I think. And he's written like a teenager. Okay? It's it gives you really gives you those early Spider-Man vibes, Not the same powers. No. In the character, you think about Peter when you get that feeling.
Well, the only reason I didn't pick it up is because it's got Dan Didio working on it, and I don't like his. I avoid anything he's writing. I've never liked it, and I was like, and I don't really care for him as a person, considering his the identity crisis. Like, yeah, let's retcon the Sue. Let's retcon horrible things happening to Sue Dibney. Let's try to kill Dick Grayson repeatedly. Get rid of Stephanie Brown. He's kind of like he's like one of those guys like. I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you kids, kind of deal. With the Scooby Doo. But
yes,
like
but,
if we were selling the volume of what we sell DC books at Marvel price points, it'd still be open. But like that's another thing. It's like, and plus we give discounts to subscribers, of course, because that's the whole thing. But the volume we move on DC books, like they have been paying the bills pretty much for the last year. So, but yeah, ordering 95 to 110 copies of Batman on a regular, probably 60 copies of Flash. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like, okay, like how come we can't move books, Marvel books like this? It's just there's no demand for it. Nobody wants to read it.
And Marvel has been the number one for decades.
Yeah.
You know, I was one of a few people really reading DC comics here in Mexico. You know, Marvel was everywhere. Everybody loved it. Their books, but DC not so much.
Yeah, I remember what was it? Probably like 4 or 5 months ago, a regular customer who actually, who spent like probably $60 to $75 a week,
Wow.
say, you know what, I gotta stop. Like, I'm just not satisfied with the quality. He's like, it's not you guys at all. It's just the quality of these books that are coming out. Like, I can't handle it. And I'm like, and that's another thing too, is like, I don't give people crap for taking stuff off their pulls, for putting it on, I'm like, okay, hey, you got to do what you got to do. If you're not enjoying the story, I totally understand. Not enjoying the art, totally understand. But yeah, like, having that happen on more than one occasion, that's a big deal too. Cause there's, we have quite a few people that actually have more than 10 books on their pull, and, quite a few people, like our regular customers, spend $40 to $60 a week on books. And so when we miss that opportunity, or they continue to take titles off of their pool, we're like, oh, that sucks, because the business, we need money to operate. So
yes, because Marvel has been chasing after a non-existent market for years. For years,
like Iron Man before.
And they have not. If they had done like DC with, for instance, now with Young Animal, I don't like those books, but I don't mind. They are there because they are not the books except Dawn Patrol that I used to love, but it's not really a huge fandom around that, so I don't mind them having that. And now with the new age of heroes, they are trying to get new customers in.
I don't think so much as it's more of a diversity thing, so much as a new reader.
Customers, real customers. They're not chasing around the more representation people.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's another thing too. You can, Marvel's been diverse for a very long time. You had,
forever.
Forever. It's been, I mean, Storm, strong black woman leading the X-Men team. Like, it's like,
for years.
For years, yeah, exactly. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. We're like, oh, they're not diverse enough. I'm like, well, and what was it?
Monica Rambeau leading
Alpha Flight.
Monica Rambeau, yes.
And then you had Alpha Flight, which you had you had Snowbird, you had Heather Hudson, who was with Guardian or Vindicator. I get them confused. The Maple Leaf costume. That's all I remember. She had the ski goggle shades, and then you had Shaman's daughter, who took over his role occasionally, and Aurora. So yeah, you had to balance, and then you had dwarf representation too.
And you're forgetting one.
What? Which one?
North Star.
No, well, North Star. Well, that was that was a slow reveal that he was gay. But you also had the mermaid girl from Atlantis, the one with the black bug eyes. I think she had. Yes. It's not Mara. Namorita, yeah. Namorita was a part of that too. There was another one. There was another one I want to say too. She was like a seafoam green. But yeah, like Marvel had a thing going on. Look at the '90s X-Men cartoon, the animated series. You had nothing but even Jubilee, because she was a kid. She was an adopted kid being and then being chased by Sentinels. But yeah, tons of characters, tons of strong female representation. Real characters, real people. Now you don't even get that.
That's the thing. That's the thing. They were people.
Their character traits the forefront of who they are, instead of being this character has X and X, but they just so happen to be a female, or they just so happen to be Asian, or they, you know, that like it's a lot of and that's the thing is customers can see through contrivity and like forcing a character on you, you know, like they like with the whole Riri Williams thing, like oh god, we maybe bought like 14 copies of Iron Man, Invincible Iron Man, 14 copies. Really? Like it's mind-blowing the fact that they like, you know, so many people like, oh, it's not Tony, I'm not interested in this. I want Tony, you know. It's
and the thing is they could have the both. They didn't need to take out Tony.
Well, that's another thing. It's like, well, why would you kill off Rhodey?
Exactly.
Like you know, there's a diverse character right there who actually people like.
Exactly.
and
another character they fucked over was America. America wasn't always
exactly
like Gabby wrote it.
I still say they fucked over Monica Rambeau more, because to me, when I was getting comic books, I was getting them at flea markets for like 50 cents and stuff like that. And when I was getting it was the Monica Rambeau Captain Marvel, because she was the first female Captain Marvel, because at this time Carol, I think she had become binary at this point, and so she was up in space. But you had Monica leading the team, and then this whole push with Carol, and I'm like, you want to act like this is, they give her that horrible hairdo and that ugly mask and that over-designed costume, and they're pushing this book, and I gave it a shot. I gave it an honest shot, and I hated it. And it was like, and then Miss Marvel's just, hey, fangirl the comic, of course, like this kind of, and just
but they don't buy it.
But that's the thing. There's like the proofs in the pudding, but it just
I understand some costumes, because they are told to do the costumes to be
cosplay friendly.
Cosplay friendly, yes.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand that, but give me a good character.
Well, it's kind of like how some people have Twitter bios. They have what they are instead of who they are. Like what you do.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. I'm not. If I tell you I'm a Mexican, what do you know about me?
You're a Mexican.
Nothing. Yeah, like
nothing.
That's it.
Nothing.
Like, if you have a link to your, like, say, YouTube channel, or say you have a web comic or a website that you have your art on, I could check that out. And I'm looking through your tweets, and you're interacting with people. You're not just like actually interacting, and not like tweeting at certain people and like, how dare you say that, you're a horrible person, why don't you whatever.
Oh, no.
But that's the thing. It's like you actually,
if you have in your profile he, she, or he,
preferred pronouns, yes.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I used to block people that would have that. I stopped doing that. I
don't block them, but
that's not what I used to do.
Yeah,
it's like I'm like,
I don't really care, so I'm whatever. Like it doesn't bother me so much. So
it's not that bothers me. It's the kind of people that do it. It's people that's going to go around searching for reasons to get offended in behalf of other people.
It's about what you are, not like who you are, and that right there, that's what matters more. Like that's what it seems like.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of the characters in the books are. That's the agenda that I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Like, there's a couple rare gems out there that are like, authors are telling good stories and there's good art, but other than it's pushing agenda of what characters are rather than who they are, and that's disappointing.
It's identity politics.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So, Feisty, as a woman in comics, what are your favorite characters? Any company?
Wolverine, definitely, because that's what I started with. I'm a huge Mary Jane Watson fan, clearly. So
I wouldn't have guessed.
Really? No idea.
No idea.
And then I've been I'm a big Catwoman fan. Like I've been collecting Catwoman for forever. Like
I love her.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of the Ballant era? Catwoman, what do you think of the Ballant era, the Chuck Dixon, Jim Ballant, where it was just basically she was just drawn naked but purple with no detail.
I love it. Like I don't know. I love different style of arts. I love what other artists bring to the table. But I started reading Batman, actually, you know, his solo run because I saw Catwoman was coming in. I was like, oh, okay. So started reading King's run. I'm absolutely loving this book. Like it is, I recommend Batman to anybody that walks in. Like, you want a good comic book? Read Batman. I've not read a single issue that I did not enjoy. So and that's saying something because they're on issue 40. So, yes. But I mean, yeah. So yeah, like now Batman has become one of my favorites. Like, I'm sorry, I like Batman over Superman. I don't like the whole. It's okay. Altruistic and like, yeah, I don't like Captain America either. I'm like, he's too goody goody. Like, give me meat, give me some some substance.
He was. Now he's a Nazi.
Now he's a Nazi, right? And like, who wants to read a comic book where this all-American hero is now like Hail Hydra? I'm like, wow. Like we had people be like, oh, take Captain America off their list.
Yes.
Yeah, and I really like John Constantine. I like Hellblazer. I like kind of the anti-hero archetype, I suppose. So, but
that's the bad boys. You like the bad boys.
I like the bad boys.
Well, it's a trope. Women like bad boys.
It's a stereotype. It's a stereotype that's actually true. That's the thing about stereotypes. It's nothing wrong with being a stereotype. It's just somebody paying attention.
Right, exactly.
But it's speaking as a woman. Well, not me. I'm not speaking as a woman. Don't be like this.
Yes.
But you were transitioning.
No estrogen for me. That's why I drink. I am not drinking no soy. Almond milk, yes. Soy milk, no. No. But with I've noticed, the interactions between males and females at comic book stores can be quite awkward. Were you ever made uncomfortable by customers or just fellow, like as a customer, guys maybe hovering near you or kind of creeping on you a bit, maybe, or like that's another thing I've noticed, that there are some women that if the store wasn't a bad experience, maybe like it's kind of dingy basement like, something out of Silence of the Lambs, which there are some stores like that.
Really?
Oh God, there was a store underneath the meat shop. There was a meat shop above, and the store had these foam panelings, and most of them were gone, so you could actually see the wastewater and water coming in, fresh water coming in for the store above, and it was in a basement, and the guy was watching porn, and a woman came in, and she didn't stay much longer, and I felt so bad because I was like, oh, she's gonna let me into this whole thing. I'm like, no, I'm just over here looking through the old back issues.
There's like one or two, like there's been one or two instances, but if I feel uncomfortable, I like, I have no qualms with boundaries, like I make boundaries. And another thing is like if I can feel that they're being creepy or flirty or whatever, I'm married, so I wear a wedding ring, so I bring up my hand with my wedding ring and I kind of play with my hair or whatever. I'm like, hey, I'm off market, I don't need your shit.
But not always works.
Yeah,
I had this experience in a bar. I used it to be the manager, and I always wore my wedding bands.
Yeah.
And the girls, the women, they didn't mind. The more they saw it, the more they pushed.
Yeah, but if it got to like, I don't ever. I mean, there was there's two gentlemen that hover, but it's because they're disabled. Like we have a lot of I guess special needs groups that come into the store, like I don't want to say, like, I don't even know how to not be PC. Yeah, like, no, and that, and I have a nephew who's autistic, so I totally understand how you're supposed to interact with them, so it doesn't bother me so much. But if they're talking to me a lot and asking me a lot of questions, I have to, hey, I would love to sit and talk to you, but I've got some work to do. And that's the same thing with other gentlemen that are overly talkative and it's like, hey, I know the store is empty, but I actually have shit I need to do. So like, like, it's not just a place where I hang out all day and read comic books. I actually work. So
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's another thing is, or I'm like, hey, I'm not comfortable talking about this, or hey, I really don't like discuss like politics, for instance. I'm like, I understand how you feel. You're allowed your opinion. I don't want to come off as standoffish at all. So maybe we should just choose to not have this conversation here in this environment. But if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me outside of work. But that's not who I am, and I don't But yeah, like I have no problems putting up boundaries and saying if something is uncomfortable or but I mean, yeah, like not a lot of people are comfortable enough doing that. They'll just, sit there and like don't know how to react. But mama didn't raise no fool.
Yeah.
Clearly.
But yeah, so I mean, I love my customers. I hug them. I'm a hugger, so I'm like, oh my god, like I free hugs but.
Would you say most of the male customers were like that?
No, no. A lot of our customers are, like I said, are cool and really like, but seeing grown men get teary-eyed talking to you, like because the store is closing, now that hurts. Like,
yes,
it was a very emotional day yesterday, and seeing how we like just being open, being available, talking, knowing what we're selling.
It's a community hub.
It really is. Like we've had quite like we do a lot of signings at our store. So, we've had quite a few. We've had Rick Remender sign at our store.
And geeks are not really good at socializing.
Yeah.
And having a place where you can go meet other geeks that are into the same stuff you are not going to laugh at you. The clerks don't laugh at you, are not mocking you behind your back,
Yeah, no, like I said, this is a place where a lot of people feel at home, like this is their second home, or this is part of their routine. One of our customers told me last night, he's like, this is like, what am I going to do on Wednesdays? This is like my happy place. Or when people feel sad, they come here and they, have the whole quote unquote retail therapy session. So it's like people come here to feel good and be happy. They don't come here to be sad sacks and, talk about being angry about politics. Like, and like I said, I have no qualms with telling people, hey, I don't want to talk about this. This is probably not we probably have differing opinions. I don't want to step on your toes or come off as standoffish. So maybe this is best left outside of work or of the walls of this place that's supposed to be inclusive. So my favorite thing, and this is going to make me kind of get emotional here, but having new readers or when parents would bring their kids to the store as their first time, and like, and I'm of this and I love kids, like I love kids. I like talking to them. I like getting enthusiastic, but like getting down on their level, taking a knee if they're younger and getting on their eye level and speaking to them like an adult and, interacting in them with that. It makes the parents be like, oh, wow, they actually give a shit about my kids. And actually, I'm like, of course, like, why wouldn't you? Because with children come parents. Parents have money. I know I'm a big part of the community and whatnot, but at the end of the day, if you don't treat your establishment like a business, you're going to lose out on like I'm still trying to make the mighty dollar. Like that's that. But I've the philosophy is like, if you're nice, money comes, just be nice, know your shit, and the money will come. But unfortunately, there's no demand for the product that a lot of, companies have been putting out. So, yeah, but like talking to kids, getting to know, like, asking questions and seeing what they like.
And even if I like a comic book, okay, if I have a little kid, I might not want my little kid to read that particular comic book. And Marvel has been making a lot of comics more for the, I don't know, I want to say 16, 17-year-old up hipster crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything about having sex and stuff. And I'm not a Puritan, okay? I'm not a Puritan, but I don't think that's what should be in a comic for a kid.
Well, I'm not seeing so much as that in comic books necessarily. Like I haven't seen a lot of push for the, but yeah, like a lot more swearing, maybe, but nothing as far as I'm not seeing the push for like sexual interaction or but yeah, no, and I'm a firm believer. Like I say, oh, you know, like when I'm recommending something, I'm like, oh, what are you okay with kids read? Like, you know, I'm not going to sell a copy of The Punisher to a 6-year-old because no,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like, I've got a little bit more better judgment than that. And that's another thing. I'm like, oh, well, you know what? And that's another thing I asked too. I'm like, okay, I get the gist of what they want, but what are you okay with your kids reading? Like, you know, what's if I pull a teen, I'm like, I know this is rated teen, but it's very lighthearted. And then I'll pull the book and I'll open a couple pages and I'll show the parent, you know, like, yeah, like actually showing these parents that are trying to, oh my gosh, my brain is not working anymore. Coffee. Oh God, I can't. Yeah, basically, well, yeah, no, like asking open-ended questions, and you know,
the parent to approve.
Yeah, that are getting behind and supporting. There it is. Sorry, I suffer from terrible aphasia, so yeah, that's another thing too. Is like not just that, but yeah, I this has been kind of like a really hard couple years for me too, because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis a few years back. So
damn.
So this has been like a really nice job because it kind of distracts me from the everyday bullshit my body goes through. So it's like having a job I like and am able to do has been a blessing. So now I'm like, well, shit, like, what do I do now? Because I can't do a lot of cognitive heavy stuff. So retail is actually kind of perfect. But it's like, what else would I want to sell? I don't know. But but yeah, no, like knowing your audience and that's like, okay, so I can do that. Why can't creators do that? Like, or not just that, but making it like a story that if you have a specific audience that anyone can jump on board with.
Yeah, that's another thing, the idea of all ages. It's like where this guy comic store yesterday, like I was saying, the you know, come in look for comics for his kids. The guy at the store pointed them towards like some of the, you know, the digest size, like the DC and the Guardians Digest, that Guardians of the Galaxy Digest comic or whatever.
Yeah.
And I pointed it to him. It's like, you know, it's like, well, you know, because the guy, this owner, one of the owners had to go back. The clerk had to go back to the counter and take care of some customers, answer phones, some other stuff. You know, had stuff to do, and he was being helpful, but you know, you can only spend so much time. You have to man the store, or woman in the store. But with
people kind.
Yeah, people kind. Yes, this is no joke. Canada is though. But with the guy looking for comics for his kids, I was like asking him, you know, what movies has he seen? What books does he read? Books and everything.
It's that open-ended questions where they can't just say yes or no to.
Exactly. And he was like, you know, read the first couple of Harry Potter books, saw the first 2 Harry Potter films. We're gonna wait to watch the rest of them. You know, they get kind of pretty dark. He's like, you know, a 6-year-old and everything. And I was like, well, Little Gotham, Batman, Little Gotham, with the Dustin Nguyen art. You know,
oh God, yes! Oh, I pushed that book so often to a little kid.
I had the same here because I was like, I'd send it to a friend, and I told this guy, just look, go ahead and look through the pages. It's beautiful artwork. It's, you know, it's friendly, and it's not, you don't have to have like, you know, previously on this issue, you know, you have to know like what's going on. It's just fun comics. And I also told him, I said, if you want, you look through the back issue bins, and you can go through, because like pretty much any comic from the, you know, the early 90s to like the, you know, mid 70s, even further back, whatever, as long as price point and everything, those comics code, the most you might see is a woman in a bikini and maybe somebody, you know, like a silhouetted figure, you know, slumping over, dying. You're never going to see people like I'm pretty sure it's like a 15-8 Marvel, whatever their rating system is, but I picked up the last issue of John Malin's Cable yesterday, and there's decapitations, there's pretty brutal stuff in it, but you know, like I wouldn't hand that over to a kid, maybe like 11, 12, even though I grew up watching RoboCop and Predator and stuff like that.
And the thing is, there used to be, it was Marvel Max.
Oh yeah, I think it's still a thing, but it's not
It's not as prevalent. Like, I think the only thing they're putting out constantly right now is Punisher Platoon.
That's it. Well, yeah.
Like, that's the only
But
I read the second issue of that.
They used to have that for grown-ups. You know, so if you wanted something more mature, you could go buy that. And some of the stuff they had been putting not so much in open nudity or on your face sex, but some of the stuff they have been putting out need to be in a line for not for kids. I mean,
oh yeah,
I don't want my son is 17, but when he was 6, I didn't want to get him to see something that made me explain to a 6-year-old what a lesbian is, what a gay man is, you know.
Yeah, like if you're not old enough to comprehend it, why do they need it in their, like, I wouldn't push something like that or anything that they wouldn't be able to understand. I know, like I said, I'm a little different. Like, my dad's like, okay, you want to read Wolverine? That's fine. But but I'm like, he told me, you know, I was old enough to understand the difference between fantasy and reality. So, and as long as he knew that, then, you know, whatever I read was fine. If you know, he swore, he didn't really, you know, as long as you don't repeat it, you can hear it. But yeah, I still have issues swearing in front of my parents. I just can't do it.
Well, as
go ahead.
But speaking of, like, you know, how the comics are, Feisty, when you have like I say, a Marvel movie come out, so, like, you know, the idea of, you know, you have the you know, one of the biggest corporations on the face of the planet, you know, the Disney conglomerate.
I know where this is going.
And you have all these movies are making billions of dollars. Would you see an uptick in sales and if you did see people come in looking for the book, would they leave disappointed because what the movie is not represent what's actually in the comics? Like, there's no comics, you know, that represent.
Yeah, that's really hard too. Is like, people will be I don't know so much that we see an uptick, but we would see like a couple new faces, and people will come in and go, you know, like, hey, you know, is this, you know, is this your first time here? If I don't recognize somebody, is this your first time here? Yeah. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, welcome. You know, I introduce myself. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave them alone. Wander back up. You know, was kind of looking for, okay, you know, our interactions, like, oh, well, what brought you here? Oh, I really enjoy the MCU movies. I'm like, oh, great. And then ask them, okay, well, which one did you enjoy? What particular character? You know, you got to pin down what you can gauge. But I know, but a lot of the times I'd be like, well, unfortunately, a lot of the current stuff doesn't reflect that. And, you know, I'd tell them what's going through. Like, that's really strange. I'm like, you're telling me. So, yeah. But luckily we have a really great trade selection. So I can, my dog's barking, sorry.
No problem.
Really good trade selection.
Mine doesn't bark, only beats my feet.
But yeah, we have a really good trade selection. So I can pull, really good books that a lot of the movies draw from, and, you know, like having some Masterworks issues of Thor that actually have Ragnarok in it. I'm like, hey, if you like Thor, this is really great. You know, an earlier Thor and Journey into Mystery. You know, like it's just a matter. Yeah,
Ultimates books, of course. You know,
exactly. Ultimates.
When Thor was Thor.
When Thor was Thor. I mean, I don't really mind the new run so much, but I miss my Odin son. I want him to be worthy.
I miss Beta Ray Bill. I'm more of a Beta Ray Bill fan.
I love Beta Ray Bill. Sis knows what's up.
Here's the thing, okay? I wouldn't mind Jane holding the hammer if they hadn't made her Thor.
Here's the problem. That's a what if issue. I think it's what if number 10.
Yes, I know.
Thordis. They called her Thordis, which actually sounds like Madonna's daughter or something. And it's like Jane Foster picks up the hammer, and the weirdest thing is, like, Baldar is kind of having crushing on her, and it's like because Baldar is, you know, a friend of Thor, you know, and it's kind of weird. It's like he's kind of like, and they actually touch upon, he's like kind of weirded out that though thou is Thor, I have affections towards him and everything. It's like, it's weird, but it's like,
because here's the thing, okay? You can have a Captain America that is not Steve.
Yeah, well, the U.S.
Okay.
agent John Walker.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
who
I
had his
didn't
family
like him,
killed.
but yes, you could have that. You could even have a Spider-Man that is not Pete. They did it very well when Miles was in the in the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't have a Thor that it's not Odinson because Thor is his name.
Is Thor.
Thor
Yeah.
Odinson. So Odinson is the last name. It's the way the Vikings did their last names. Your last name was your father's name plus the son, or it was a different word for the girls. I don't remember which one right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's Hela, Loki daughter, Angela Odin's daughter. I liked Angela. I like yeah. I started I got back into comics right when Original Sin was happening. So yeah, so what was it? 2009, I got married and I need money. So guess what I did? Sold my collection. I know, funny, right? Like usually it's the guy that does that, but whatever.
Yeah, I know. My wife
breaking the stereotype one comic at a time.
My wife didn't let me do that. I wanted to sell my collection when our son was born, and she didn't let me do that.
Well, that was nice of her.
Yes.
Really, she probably sold it behind your back.
No, man.
Yeah, so
I knew that it happened to somebody. That's not just something like, women do that. I knew that happened to somebody, and like, what was he going to do? He going to divorce his wife over his comics? He's like, it hurt, but
I would.
So
no, I would. I totally would. You know what? It's a boundaries issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see that. I can see that.
I totally would. I wouldn't make her sell something that means something to her, and that's why she didn't let me. She even didn't want me to stop buying comics. And our son,
wife you got.
and our son, we had a family issue, and she couldn't breastfeed, so we had to buy formula, and all formulas have iron in it, and they didn't sit well with him. So we bought a can, and it's not good. Give it away. Another different kind, no. Other. We tasted all the formulas in the market here in Mexico, and between that and diapers, I was dying, And I stopped buying comics because he was born, but she wouldn't let me sell the comics.
Yeah, no, my husband didn't care either way, but I hadn't actually followed comics for a while.
She even told me I stopped going out with the guys,
Yeah.
We were married, and she asked me why. And I told her, well, they like to go for a drink, but they don't want to go to a bar. They want to go to a titty bar.
Well, you're not really for the drink, really, but
yeah.
Watered down.
It's all watered down. Yeah, I know. No, you don't know how it is here in Mexico, man. They use it to put chloroform in the eyes.
Oh.
Yes, really. Well,
I'm glad to know this. I've never.
I was a really heavy drinker, and I went to those places, and with 3 drinks, I was drunk, falling down. Okay, and well, not now, but I used to be able to have 1.5 liters of brandy by myself.
Oh, wow.
And when I told her that the guys wanted to go see naked ladies, she told me, well, why don't you go? So yes, I have a unicorn.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Well, Feisty, is your husband in the comics, or is he just?
No, he's a musician. So our passions are completely separate vicinities. So but he doesn't discourage it. Like sometimes he does. He's like, "Gosh, what a waste of money." I'm like, "Shut up! I don't say anything to the guitars you bought. You know, like I'm supportive of your hobby." And then I can
read mine. What can you do with yours?
Right? No, he's a pretty talented musician. But as I was getting to, so I got back into reading in when Original Sin was starting, so 2014. So I saw that event set up to something else, and then that event set up to something else. And with Secret Wars, that actually sold really well in the store. Like people were getting all the tie-ins and getting more than one issue, more than the Secret Wars main storyline, getting the side issues. That's and it was done very well, and it was set up to do something real, like reboot the universe, right? So then with All New, All Different, it's like, okay, yeah, this is maybe too different. So so I saw the whole decline of the storytelling of the characters, but you're not going to sell book, like if people like Iron Man, they want to see Tony Stark as Iron Man. They don't. I mean, Riri could have been good. Like she had the potential, but they just it was a miss. I don't know why they would call Invincible Iron Man a book and Iron Man is not in it, but that's just me. And it's hard to sell something that is like, oh, well, I like to, like I said, it's hard to sell something if people are after a certain character and the current books don't have them in them. It's like, bro, like, what you thinking? But with like Batman, he's got, like 4 or 5 titles right now, like, and all of them are selling very well. Like White Knight, we order probably 150 copies, and maybe no, we sell out of that book. We don't even we have to get a second and third and fourth prints, and people are still demanding more. So it's like, well, if you tell a good story, the comic book's going to sell. If you tell a bad story, it sucks, because we speculate that Marvel with their hype is going to sell, so we order a bunch and then the product just sits there. So yeah, it was a rough 2 years, but unfortunately we didn't weather the storm. So
yeah, and the worst part is that the Marvel turns around and blames the fans.
Yeah, but we're not fans. Well, I mean, some of them are fans, but a lot of people are customers. We spend our money.
We are both.
Yeah.
We are both.
I mean,
but
honestly,
the thing is, I'm a fan of the character, not of the company.
Yeah.
Okay? So, they turn around and blame the fans, but America wasn't selling, okay? Never was. Yet, you go to DC, and Batwoman is selling way more. I believe it was 3 times what America was selling.
Yeah. Like I think we ordered like 3. Well, our store ordered like 3 copies of America because we had 3 subscribers. With titles like that, we we wouldn't order anything for the wall because after the second issue, no, we weren't selling any of the books. So it's like, why even order for the wall unless people so if people want something, we either special order it or hey, that's a title we don't carry really prominent copies of. If you want it, add it to your pull. But I'm not going to tell someone, oh no, you shouldn't read that, it's crap, because I want your money. So
I would.
I mean, I got one of my best friends actually is a big fan of the book, and I tried reading it, and I've tried saying like, I mean, other than the character being quote unquote Latina, even though she's an alien, what about the book? He's like, oh, I just have to support a Latina. I'm like, that's not a good reason to. I know you want to support like the archetype and
she's not Latina. She's not even from
Earth. I know, that's why I was like, quote unquote alien. She's quote unquote Latina, but she's an alien, so
she's a brown people.
She's a brown person. Yeah, I guess.
Not all brown persons are Latinos.
Let's throw the content of her character out the window. It just whatever.
And that's another thing. Like America was a great character. Like I enjoyed what was it? She was in the Ultimates or A4 or I forget, whatever.
Yeah, Ultimates. I believe it's Ultimate.
Yeah, Ultimates. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 or 4.
She was a great character, and then I don't know what happened. Like, who talks like that? I don't know.
Gavi.
Yeah. Unfortunately, so
she talks like that.
But seeing seeing what Secret Wars had the potential to do, and then they just making a shit sandwich of it was really disappointing. Like I said, all new was all new too different. So based on the hype from Marvel and the whole incentive cover thing, like they saw. I think what they did was they saw what the lenticulars were doing for what was it, like the Oz Effect and a couple other stuff going on with DC. But DC's great because they make all their variants or whatever. Like you can order as many as you want. You don't have to, order a certain amount of comics to get the incentive copy. Where with Marvel, the whole lenticular issue was like, okay, if you ordered X amount of Secret Empire, X amount of this, you are able to get this, but then you have to order X amount of this. Like it's jumping through hoops.
They were doing, they were padding their sales.
Yeah.
They were milking the shops.
Oh yeah, and it's
to pretend that they were selling more than they are really selling,
Yeah. And that really, that's probably one of the things that really hurt us was all these, and even as a reader, I was starting to get #1 fatigue. I'm like, good Lord, how many #1s are they going to put out? How many times are they going to reboot a comic? It's like,
hello. Oh, Feisty, we lose you?
I use. What?
Oh, we lost you for a second.
Oh, sorry.
It cut out.
I don't even know what I was saying.
You had #1. You had #1.
Yeah, no, #1 fatigue. Like since the 2014, since I've been back into comics, Spider-Man's been rebooted twice. Like
more.
At least that.
Yeah, because I know with Original Sin, after Superior, that was a prominent. The #1 with Ramos doing the art, and then the #1 with the Alex Ross covers. So it's like, okay, and then so when people see the numbering on two different runs, it gets confusing on which one to buy. So it's like
Spider-Man with Miles. You have Spider-Man. You have Amazing. You have what was the other one?
There's right now there's 4 if you count Miles as Spider-Man. So there's Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider. I've been pushing that book.
Spectacular, yes, that one.
If people want to read Spider-Man, I push them that way. I'm like, this actually feels like Peter, and it all started with #6. So
yes.
I actually told my boss, I'm like, you need to order more #6s of this book because it is really good. Like, so.
Yes, and here's the thing, what was I going to say?
I don't know.
Isn't it the one?
I'm not
they promised not to do any more events, right?
How many large events? The ones that span, I think, multiple issues.
How many events have they done since Secret Empire?
Yeah, too many.
In the middle one right now, the Avengers mess. Yeah.
And this one is weekly, all across the line.
And not at a lower price. And that's another thing, the price point. I've tried to get people, like, at least DC still has some $3 issues and stuff. Like I've actually bought, when my store would get extra.
You end up spending more in DC because it's
the more better quality comics. There's more.
No. It's quarterly. It is coming out twice a month. So you end up.
Well, it depends on what you're buying. Yeah. It depends.
But you end up spending $6, but it's worth it.
And like, what was it?
Batman,
Superman. Actually, yeah, most of their lines are bi-weekly. Yeah.
Yeah, the big ones.
But the quality is much, in my opinion, at least you get what you pay for. But then Marvel got stuff like $5, $4 a pop, and then you got these $4 to $5. I mean, that's going to be the industry standard. Just given by the end of this year, like $5. I wouldn't be surprised more.
Yeah, like with Doomsday Clock, I don't mind paying the $4.99 price point because of the fact that There's no ads in that book, so not every other page I'm going to get blasted with these like really shitty done ads. And then the story's great, the art's great, no complaints here. Like, I don't mind paying a higher price point if the quality is good.
Yes.
Well, that's why, like, I've been buying alternative books for people and then sending them out, like, you know, because they got stuff, you know, for adults and kids and like all ages, all that stuff. And $1.50 a piece is nothing to sneeze at. And that's actually, if you do the inflation calculator for a 10-cent comic in 1941 or 1940, and then the inflation calculator, that'd be $1.37 a day, which is just about what alternate charges for their books. And I mean,
and their books are really, like, really good.
Yeah, it's like, well, Marvel and DC, people think like, oh, Marvel's going to go out of business. They won't. They'll just get restructured. That's all that'll happen. Same thing with DC. If DC was screwing up, they think they're going to just go away. They're not going to go away.
They won't. They won't. Even if Disney went and sell everything, which they won't, the characters won't go away. It's too much money there.
They've upped the price. If they were to sell Marvel, if they were to sell Marvel whole cloth, instead of saying selling like one character or something, like, let's sell the X-Men off to, I don't know, some Chinese conglomerate or whatever.
Yes.
And that kind of thing, or something along those lines. And, you know, and these like people that buy up like Legendary Pictures and stuff, which they bought Legendary, which means all the movies, which also means the comic, they had a comic company. I think they shuttered that, but they own like sites like the Nerdist and stuff. People forget that, you know, these people own, like, when you see Nerdist promoting something, it's like, well, it depends on what they're promoting. It's like,
yeah,
you know, it's like Rotten Tomatoes is partly owned by Warner Brothers. Like, I love Wonder Woman, but slap a tomato on it, you know, saying like, oh, it's fresh. I'm like, but you own part of the company. It's like, of course.
Yes.
Like,
but here's the thing: the other aspect of all this is that the media, it's sold. It's on the publisher's pocket. All of it, or almost, because we have Bleeding Fool and a few others. But most people, most of the media, the geek media, is sold out to the companies.
Well, look at the media in general. As far as, like, I'm talking non-comics, I'm talking, you know, when they cover politics, all this other stuff. They're in the bed. Like, you got how many, you know, news anchors and all this and that are friendly. When they go to those correspondence dinners, that's the same thing. When these comics reporters, they're friendly with creators. You can't be a proper reporter and be friendly. Now, you can report. You have some journalistic integrity when doing something, but if you actually were to do some investigation in comics, like, this creator has been sexually harassing people behind closed doors or what have you, that kind of thing, you do that, the community is so small. You know, the movies make billions of dollars, but the comics industry now is nothing like it was 30 years ago.
Yes.
Or even 25, you know, like 93, like, because it really didn't start going downhill between like the death of Superman and like the Marvel bankruptcy and the closing of that distribution method. One of the competitors for putting out, there was more than one competitor for comics distribution. Now it's just Diamond, and that's it. That's all you get, because fuck Diamond. But the industry itself is so shallow, such a stagnant pool. It's a lot of inbreeding going on. You know, like, you have I guess the most prestigious site would be the Comics Beat, but they just do like rundowns of like what's coming out. And even then, like, you go to their comments section, it's like just tumbleweeds blowing through. Nobody cares. And then you get like, you know, trash, like, you know, Rich Johnston, the human trash pile. Yeah, trash pile. Yeah, like that kind of stuff. And then the industry itself is so shallow, but a lot of these people want to move on to, like, they want to be the next, like, Robert Kirkman, you know, make money and then, like, you know, become a part, you know, like, you know, Cinemax and AMC and
anything. Yeah, I know.
Like they want to not necessarily sell out, but they want to get above it. It's like these editors at like Marvel, especially Marvel, seem like they want to move on from Marvel and work for like BuzzFeed or something, you know, that kind of thing. They don't want to be working in comics. It's like, this is just a stepping stone. Oh, I was an editor at Marvel for 5 years. I'm now an editor at BuzzFeed or something, you know, like, you know, out of the frying pan into the fire, I guess. But this is my look at it. But but Feisty, like when since
she's not here.
Oh, she's not here. Oh, what happened?
She had to step away for a minute.
Okay. I did. Okay. Well, I'm glad I went on my.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. I was like, I guess I summoned you. I did like the dragon flute from Power Rangers, like the dragon sword.
I'm like, oh my! I was for the past 10 minutes. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, I can't help. I can't hold it.
But no. I was like, I got. Thankfully, me and my diatribes, I had you covered, but unintentionally had you covered. But since this unfortunate news about your store, is there any way, like the community, like we're small, granted, like we're small, kind of, we might not have much influence or power or anything like that, thankfully, because that power corrupts and all that.
Well,
but is there anything we could do to help you, or
I mean, I'll be okay. Like, I'm not like, oh, I luckily I have other means and other things lined up and other I'm not gonna be destitute or I mean, I'd like to stay in the industry, but at the same time, it's like, I talking to my husband, that was a hard conversation I had. He's he suggested, he's like, I know you push yourself a lot to the brink of breaking for what you love, because with the fact that I have this degenerative disease, he's like, maybe it's time for you to accept your fate. But I'm like, no, I've got a couple more good years. I'm still strong. So I've got a lot of soul searching to do, as if I really want to go on disability, that I'm in some level of pain at all times, but at the same time, it's like, whatever. So this job has actually really helped me fight that and been a distraction. But I have other I used to be in the insurance industry. I still have a active license. I'm sure, like I said, retail is something I can do. Cognitive heavy work is something I have a problem with, because I can't really prioritize. I can't multitask. The aphasia is a thing. It's like forgetting words and jumbling communication. But I mean, I'm okay. But I just got a message from somebody, but there is a potential buyer, so there might be hope. So I think
I got my fingers and toes crossed for you right now.
Yeah, I was trying to partner with
if that doesn't pan, you could try, besides, I don't know, going back to insurance, you could try starting a YouTube channel and see if you can make it. You know a lot of the talking about comics, stuff you care about.
Yeah, I was thinking of starting like a comics review channel, or just like a geeky channel in general, but I'd have to get some.
No geeky.
No geeky. But I okay, so
my brand.
Here's another thing. Here's another thing that is really going to affect the community, because on Sundays I run I help host a youth D&D group. I'm heavy into Dungeons and Dragons. Like, it's been ever since I started playing 7 years ago.
Would you care to have a broken English Mexican 50-something never played D&D?
Possibly. Yeah, we'd have to fly out. Well, I think with D20 now, people can actually like Skype in, or you can actually do campaigns online.
I was talking about something like that. You hosting?
Yeah, I love. Yeah, but anyway. So so there's this youth, and these kids are just I just love seeing them. They're so bright that that's my crew, that I'm like, that's probably what I'm going to miss more than anything. And them not having a safe place to be on Sunday, breaks my heart. I'm going to start crying. So
no, don't cry.
I know, but
there's
I love
going
these
to be
kids so much.
I'm betting there's going to be a way, even if the store closes, to keep the group going.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I was doing. And even my husband was like, maybe you could try doing some charity work, or doing something that, you're passionate about. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I've got a lot of options, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's breaks my heart. Like I said, I'm very I'm I make it personal.
You're attached to the community. You're attached to the store and the people
around
it. It's like you said, like it's like a home away from home, for a lot of people, and like it's clearly grown on you. It's attached itself.
Yeah.
And it hurts. I mean, it's the potential for loss and everything, and it's just it's a trying emotional time because it's not just a source of income. It's it's like one thing you could just whatever pass it off. I don't care, but you really have to like it is. This isn't like door-to-door salesman. Oh no, I really love throwing dirt on people's carpets and coming in and vacuuming it up. That kind of thing. It's you actually like you said, you talk to kids, you treat them. You don't treat them like a little kid. Like, hey there, little, like some creepy stuff like that. Like but it's like you're putting good faith back into the future.
Reading some of the comments on the post that my boss made, like one woman was like, well, there goes the most female friendly store I have ever been in. So the fact that when my boss like, no, I mean, like, in the community and the openness and welcoming and clean, I dust the shit out of that store. But having people like get upset that like they're this is where they come to hang out. This is where they come when they're feeling blue. This is I try to leave my personal shit at the door. Like I don't bring any
as we
personal
should.
Drama. As anybody in any industry, like working in any industry should. But I mean, it's like.
Feisty, are you reading the comments, the chat?
Yeah.
Rebirth has something to tell you.
What?
If you do get disability, then still get a job.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's another thing. Like, I mean, I just got to figure out what I want to do. What I can do. I don't know, maybe I'll see if I can get a small loan and pitch in, but I mean, I really don't want to lose. That's what I'm most sad about it. I mean, I don't care so much about losing a job. I've been laid off before and it hasn't really, but this is something that I'm like emotionally attached to.
Yes,
and that's probably the most heartbreaking. It's not like the financial thing. Fortunately, my husband, makes enough money to where I don't have to work full time. So, but still, I don't like feeling useless. So this was a good opportunity while I had it.
Yes.
But no, it's just,
fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed. Everything will go.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like it's rough. Like it's rough out there looking for work. That's one thing I found. I'd come off a vacation a few years back, and I was out in Wisconsin. I spent some time out there. I kind of knew the day would probably end horrible. Like there was like 24, 48 hour period. I was leaving Wisconsin, and right in front of me was a horrific T-bone crash. But like nobody, it looked bad, but nobody died. I was like, man, this is weird, and had saw a creepy hitchhiker trying to get picked up. But there was some weird stuff that day. And then I get home, I drive through a blizzard and make it home, and I'm told to call my work and say, oh yeah, you're being terminated from that site, because I was working security at the time. And there was somebody that had it out for me. The guy that had it out for me was actually fired for having sexual relations with one of my coworkers. So it's kind of these weird little, I guess you would say, inside job. But so it was hard. It was a little hard finding work. It all worked out eventually. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, but as far as the comics business, and have you ever had aspirations for either writing or drawing? Do you write or draw?
I do draw, but I'm not so much. It's more stylized. I actually went to fashion school, so
okay.
Like I said, I have options. Like there's a lot I can do, but I mean, as far as storytelling, I've always loved writing. I've taken quite a few creative writing classes, but I would need to actually And even my husband suggested I go back to school. So I'm like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I could do some indie stuff or at least write something. I know artists that would, you know, write a story I wanted to tell. But yeah, no, I've always, you know, and not, I go frequent conventions. I meet these wonderful creators that are very approachable. I had a couple beers with a couple of awesome creators. You know, it's just like I've been around the industry and the people enough to know that this is something I either, whether it's a retail job or whatever, like I still want to remain a part of the community, whatever that may be. But
well, the reason I ask is because I can feel your passion. I get your passion immensely, and it's not this, you know, the stereotypical fangirl kind of thing. Like, oh my God, Peter and Mary Jane's so cute. Oh my God, Mary Jane's freckles. Like that kind of thing. You actually have a deep-rooted passion, and it comes across. It comes across fully. And I was just thinking, this is your passion. If you were to put it in a creative aspect, whether it be a web comic, and that's the thing, people think web comics have to go on forever. You can actually do chapters and like seasons, like, you know, that kind of thing. It's like, and your style, like, the idea of stylized art and with like your perspective and your passion, and that could go either. You could go really weird David Lynch stuff, or you can go straight up, you know, kind of traditional comic stories, but with a interesting art style. And I'm actually be interested in seeing what you come up with. I know, like, you know, like I said, you have options, and you're going to explore it, and hopefully you maybe choose that, and maybe not, you know, hopefully you come to that conclusion.
Well, I've done like small storyboards and stuff and layouts before, so, but Peter and MJ are really cute, so I agree, Reaver. Spider marriage, bring back Spider marriage.
Well, I think that still exists in the newspaper strips, if I'm not mistaken. I believe.
Yeah, no, I've been getting what is it? The comic shop weekly or whatever for that that story arc. So they're still together. I mean, it's like 6 panels of simple art and simple storytelling, but I'm like, Peter and MJ are together. They're still hope.
I love that. That's the thing. I love that simpleness of it. Like, that's the thing. I've been going back to a lot of the old comics and actually reading them, and even like, I'm, you know, talking just a few years old, decade old, even back to like the 40s and so on. You know, the golden age stuff, like the reprints mainly, and how weird they were. Like like people forget that Superman and Captain America were tools of propaganda. I mean, that's
absolutely.
And it's like, well, Superman was like going in, he was basically like a communist. He was like going in, like taking these mine owners into a mine, breaking down the things, so that the trusses holding up the mine, collapsing the mine, and basically threatening them to leave them down there to die unless they gave their workers better conditions and better pay. Which is like, he was kidnapping football players and injecting them with like heroin or something, and then playing football and like having an entire football team tackling him, making the opposing team hate him, his team hate him, and then switching identities back to the football player. Football player, having no clue that these people hated him, goes onto the field and proceeds to get basically murdered by his team and the opposing team. Superman was a dick, but that's back when he couldn't fly; he just leapt. But
Batman used to kill people.
Oh yeah, Batman.
Yeah, he used to kill people.
But that's the thing, Batman breaking necks. But like, when you think about it, it's like, how many people has Batman let die by letting Joker live? That's one of those things. But then eventually, that can only work in like a closed circuit. You can't, as an ongoing thing. Eventually, police, military, government would intervene if this guy's going around just murdering anyone that got in his way. And like, you had to have new supervillains. The supervillain shows up, Batman just shows up with a 45 and just shoots him.
I know. What was it?
I have an issue with that too. It's in the movies they have been using a villain and killing it.
Hush.
Oh, poor baby.
Well, especially in the Tim Burton stuff. Look at that. Like, they introduced.
But in the comics, the villain keeps escaping and killing. Escaping and killing, escaping and killing. I could understand it if it's a burglar, you know?
Yeah.
But a killer, sooner or later, someone would kill him.
Well, the other thing is, like,
no problem. I have my own baby here.
Well, that's what bothered me about Batman White Knight. Like that right there, because the whole idea is like, if like I'm thinking, okay, Batman's lost it. Okay, I dislike the story. I know a lot of people love it, but hey, Sean Gordon Murphy, I like him as a person. I like his art, but as the story goes, I don't like Batman White Knight. I kind of dislike it quite a bit.
And you know what? You are completely entitled to that opinion,
exactly.
And we can agree to disagree. It was funny. I actually just saw a tweet about like, oh, here's what a social justice warrior is. I'm like, besides the shaved head, I kind of fit every description of that. You know, I'm like, I'm a dog mom. I don't want kids. Like, you know, I lean to the left, but I'm of the opinion is that you're not.
But you're rational.
But yeah, that's exactly. I'm like, I try to follow the lines of logic. How am I gonna like meet in the middle if I'm not willing to listen and let go of the fact, like, you know, the fact that like this is something me and my husband severely disagree on. He
you're
thinks,
wrong. You're wrong.
What?
You don't lean left. You're a liberal.
Yeah, I'm a liberal, I guess. Yeah,
are not liberals. Okay, commies are not liberals.
But you say you were disagreeing with your husband?
Yeah, like, no, because he's all like, because he's of the same, like, he would be, I mean, I secretly, like, you know, in my mind, I'm like, dude, you're total SJW. But yeah, because he's of the mind that, like, voting for Trump is totally indefensible. But I'm like, how are you going to get, like, I'm like, you can't, I'm like, you're just as bad as what you think the other side are if you're going to marginalize everybody for disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
Like, he called me crazy for that. I'm like, okay, well, I can be crazy, but I'm of the mind, like, I'm not gonna disavow, like, and some of my closest friends, like, we don't agree politically, but I'm like, that's not, like, that's just one aspect and one part that makes up a person.
Yeah, it's like, you gotta be adult about it. Like, I have people that are, I know a person right now, like, I've known her for years. I've actually tried to get rid of her and her sister. They're twins, so it's like twin terrors.
Yeah.
I've tried to cut ties with them over the years because like they got a kind of
people are very passionate about what they believe.
Quite passionate, but that's the thing. It's like they, you know, like born in Costa Rica, came to America, upper middle class. I'd say even rich family. Upper middle class for them is like rich for growing up, buying unlabeled dented cans when times were tough. It's mystery cans. It could be green beans. It could be spaghetti and meatballs. It could be pinto beans. I don't know. It's like, you know, that's when times were tough for me and my family. It's like she doesn't know what tough was.
And that's but that whole thing too is what like really led me to the whole, you know, Comicsgate thing, because I'm like, hey, you know, there's people that, you know, voted for Hillary that aren't fucking crazy. Like you know what I mean? I'm like, we exist.
And that's the thing. It's like that.
Here's the thing, okay?
Things.
But instead of
go ahead. I have told many people over and over again, liberals are not the same as SJWs. It's not the same thing. And SJW is an irrational zealot. He's in a cult.
Or she's in a cult, or
she.
Yeah, I mean,
Sir is in a cult.
Sir, yeah.
I mean, I guess the fact, like, but I try to see people as people. Like, I can't judge you unless I have a conversation about you or your actions, especially. Oh, actions are huge, and you know, and the moment someone, like, and I've seen this. I've seen outside the shop, my boss will talk to other customers. They'll get in some heated debates, but nobody calls each other names. Like we don't, you know, the moment you get called a name, or you call, if you get called a name, you've won the argument. The moment you call somebody a name, you've lost the argument, because then you have no facts or evidence to back up what you're claiming.
That used to be the norm.
Well, no, that is the norm now. Like, everybody's a Nazi, everybody's a shithead. Like, like,
I mean, the norm used to be, if you start calling names, you lost.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like now, like, it's only very few, like, can actually understand that there are things I like that you hate. There's things that I hate that you like. And guess what? I can still like you as a person. And that's all that matters. It's like,
right.
And like, I go in, like, whether it be comics or what have you, and especially comics, it's like, I've seen people, and it's like, okay, Eric Larson, he did that, the Donald Trump issue, Savage Dragon, where Savage Dragon, there's an issue.
Oh, yes. No.
The half issue where it's when the Wizard mail-in stuff, which Wizard was horrible and good at the same time because Leinil Francis Yu, who did that great run on Wolverines. I don't know if you remember that run, right?
Yeah.
Feisty.
Mm-hmm.
And he did,
Yes.
he did Superman, the Superman book with Mark Waid, which was pretty good. It got really weird at times because he put like the very feminine eyelashes on everybody. Like they had like the very
that's
feminine.
Weird.
But yeah, I love his art. But he got his start in a art contest Wizard had. Like Wizard had he mailed in some art. It was actually, I remember it was Batman without Batman sans cape and hood, cape and cowl, and Joker wearing the cowl but with a dagger, with a curved like ceremonial dagger, and it's about this sacrifice Batman. I was like, it was painted art, and that's how he got his gig at Marvel because they saw that in Wizard, which Wizard did good, did bad. But there was an issue of Savage Dragon that Eric Larson did back in the '90s where it's with Rapture, Savage Dragon's girlfriend at the time, the black woman with the kind of the rogue-like hair, the very and bodysuit and everything. And they were over their child's grave, a child who'd recently died, and Savage Dragon has the gall to like, so we can still bang, right? He's like standing on his child's grave, and I'm like, I like Eric as a person, and like the guy's like he's still doing his own comic after all these years, while everybody else pretty much is, you got Silvestri pops up here and there, mainly just like the corporate stuff, and then you got McFarlane doing the toys and still trying to get a new Spawn movie out. You got Jim Lee, who sold Alan Moore down the river with the whole homage Wildstorm stuff. He's like, got Alan Moore on. Alan Moore's like, I'll never work for DC. Doesn't know Jim Lee's talking to DC. Signs on with America's Best Comics, and then of course jumps on. DC buys them up, and Alan Moore's screwed. That's why Prometheus showing up. But it's but Eric Larson is a.
But God, that Terry Dodson art though. Oh, that cover for JLA was gorgeous. I'm sorry, but I know.
But it's like, it hurts me so because like Promethea was one of those books. Like I pointed that to somebody like this.
Oh, come on, not again.
What?
The Promethea shouldn't be used.
Well, yeah, it's Promethea, Watchmen. It really should have never been touched. But once, like, I actually lost respect for everybody that worked on before Watchmen. Everybody, Darwin Cook, in my eyes, before Watchmen, he could have done no wrong. He's passed now, but everybody that worked on before Watchmen, because it was a big paycheck, but they lost so much respect for me, or I lost so much respect for them. But it's like you work on certain projects. I know they pay well. It's like these creators that go from their own creator work, which I know doesn't pay that much to. But if you abandon your creator and work just to work for like Marvel or DC or something, that like I can understand having a break and then going, but then like get 2 issues in or 3 issues in. Like, have you ever read Rocket Girl? Either of you?
No.
It's it was an Image series. It basically felt like the late 80s.
Darwin Cook hated Watchmen. It's in an audio interview, says Spike.
Oh, really? I haven't heard that one.
I don't know. He knows a lot more than me
I'll have to check that out. Look that up.
But he doesn't want to jump in. I sent him the link.
Okay, well, maybe next time, Spike. But with the Rocket Girl, it felt like the 1987 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, the classic one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I know which one.
It felt like the Technodrome. The way I described it to someone is like the Technodrome could pop up anytime. That's how the world felt. It had a kind of similar, not the animation look exactly, but the comic had that kind of style. And it was a great comic, and the first volume was out, and they were, we're going to do a new series. And they had 2 issues done, and they're talking about getting the 3rd issue. It was like issue 6, 7, and then they had solicited 8, and then they canceled the solicitation for 8 because the same team who did that went on to do the Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl comic. And I was like, okay, finally you get back to this creator-owned series, and you do 2 issues, and then like, oh, Marvel called. We'll come back to this later, and that just felt so like how dare you? I understand the pay is good, but maybe stagger it a bit. You could still do your creator-owned books. Like maybe it's Image. We understand if it's a couple months late,
Yeah, Well, that's another thing too, is like the hype for books that are creator owned were great, and then they kill their own hype by not putting something out on time or delaying it, you know, and people don't start caring, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this was really great, and they have really good momentum. Like, surprisingly, I'm reading a lot of Aftershock books. I know the CFO or
Dynamite used it to do that. I still haven't been able to find one or two issues of Green Hornet, because they used to do that. A month, 2 months, 3 months, no issue.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that, you know, stuff, but that's another thing. It's like, you know, with the whole professionalism and stuff, and like, and that's like with the Move the Needle hashtag and that movement, me and my boss were actually talking about it, and I'm like, where was this 6 months ago? Like, yes. I know it's better late than never, but we are actually seeing a little.
You know, I try to
in sales right now. Like, we actually made sales goal this Wednesday for the first time in a very long time. Yeah. Like, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it might have had to do something with the announcement of our store closing, but I mean, seeing people regularly starting to pick up other books that they might not have read, and of course, I am always curious as to why people buy what they buy. So you know, oh, you're picking this up. You usually don't read this, and they're like, oh yeah, I've heard on like a couple YouTubes or seen the reviews, and they said it's good, so I thought I'd give it a shot. I'm like, oh cool, you know,
yeah,
like. But yeah, I like to engage with people. Oh, have you read this? Like, and I want to read stuff too. So I always ask them, oh, what are you reading that's good that you would recommend, so I can, you know, broaden my horizon.
Yes.
But yeah, like engaging with people, talking about this stuff, talking about stories, and seeing other people that, you know, I'm catering to.
That's how you found out about the whole kerfuffle.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, what was it?
6 months.
Yeah, I'm reading more DC and Aftershock and Image and Dynamite. Like, I'm reading a lot of other publishing titles than like because I'm a Marvel girl. You know, I grew up with Marvel, X-Men, Wolverine. It was my jam. But now I'm like Batman, Hellblazer, Detective Comics, White Knight, Metal. Metal has been fantastic, and it sells very well. Like, you know, that's another title we usually sell out of.
The Dark Knight Rising.
Yes.
Oh God, it was gold.
But yeah, and that's another thing too, is when I started working there, I started getting free copies of previews. Well, being a fan, I study the shit out of that thing. Like, I read what's coming out. I see if there's any artists or writers that I follow, and then I kind of take note, because I started pushing White Knight 2 months before it came out. I was talking to all of our Batman subscribers. I'm like, hey, this is coming out this time. You know, like, is that something you might want to pre-order? They're like, yeah, go ahead and throw it in my pool. So luckily, me doing my job, thinking as a salesperson and not as like, oh, this is, you know, we actually, you know, were able to have enough issues to give to the people that wanted it. And then, of course, we sold out because the hype was so real. Yeah. But, you know, preemptive selling, preemptive pre-ordering, you know, it's not just because I've seen this on the internet. What Greg Pak actually did something recently and was like, oh, you know, you need to pre-order books and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, yeah, I do my job, as in, like, I look at previews, I will preemptively pre-order stuff for people. Not just that, but to like have enough issues in this, like with Thrawn, for instance. There's some diehard Star Wars fans that shop at our store. So preemptively selling pre-orders of, you know, we actually had enough copies and had, you know, quite a few for the wall. So it's like he didn't over-order, he ordered enough to where we could cater to our Star Wars fans. So, but, you know, like faking, and that's another thing that blows my mind with all these creators and the infighting. Just makes me think of the last 2 years of Marvel with infighting. That's another thing. Like, a lot of people are fatigued with heroes fighting heroes and not just, you know, heroes actually doing their job and fighting the big bad. Like I'm a little fatigued over heroes fighting heroes, and a lot of other people too. So with Civil War 2 and then leading up to Secret Empire, it's just like you had almost a year and a half of characters that we love fighting each other. Like no one's gonna enjoy that at all. Like I didn't. I thought Civil War 2 was pretty crap. I thought Secret Empire was pretty crap. I still read it because I was curious, but yeah, like that's another thing that people are and that I saw and people complained about. They're like, why are they doing an event that has heroes pinned against heroes and then just follow that up with another event that's heroes pinned against heroes?
Because
Marvel?
They're crazy.
What's up with that?
Well, the whole
or because banana.
Well, the pre-order thing that was getting me, there were certain people, one particular, Diversity in Comics, you know, Richard, he, you know, because he like was living in, I think, Manhattan or something. He's like, we went to go to Midtown Comics, which is because they have the online store as well. I bought comics for them at my own store because like my own store was like, hey, Diamond's been kind of screwing us lately. I could maybe get it in, but it might not be till next week or maybe even the week after that. Like if they said it, because some books, because Diamond's just bad that way. There are sometimes they can get they're on the ball, sometimes they're not, and I'm like, there's no excuse for that. But whatever. So I would go to Midtown Comics and they'd have the discount and stuff. You know, you buy and it's like, you know, $5-6 shipping. So there's some books like, wow, that's really like I get the lowest quality, like the, you know, whatever, very good or whatever, not very good, fine, whatever. I don't care if it's beat up as long as the cover ain't falling off when I'm reading it, that's fine. But they would he would had access to Midtown Comics, which has like every comic, every variant, this and that, because they can, because they're that big.
Yeah.
Not every store can have every copy. I've gone to stores like, you know, like in one store, there was 2 stores in one town. You go there and you have one.
Even if the store has it, who's going to go buy? Let me pull this up, and I'm going to tell you exactly how many books Marvel had this week that were tie-ins. Okay?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
it was all, but let me tell you exactly how many.
All right. Well, you're pulling that up. The one thing that bothered me because I don't know if you were you reading comics?
Okay, here we are.
Okay.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 books. They even made Renew Your Vows a tie-in.
To what?
Okay? Yes.
To what? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not buying it. But here's the thing. Only Marvel books this week, not tie-in, were the Star Wars one. Okay? Are you going to go to the store, even if they have everything, and buy 17 books in order to get the story? Really?
Of course not.
Every week?
Not.
No.
Nobody
nobody's going to do it. And they have been doing this for years. This is not new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
they were doing it.
Infinity...
They were doing it when I stopped buying their books. When I stopped buying Spider-Man, they were doing this shit. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're still doing like the Damnation event that is coming up, but it's self-contained. The Infinity Gauntlet or whatever the countdown is self-contained. They stopped Guardians of the Galaxy to replace this story with that. So it's like, is it, you know? So I mean, I understand if they're doing events, but now I think they've gotten the point where it needs to be self-contained and maybe have 1 or 2 issues because I think Iron Fist. I think Doctor Strange. No, it's a 4-issue run. I think for Damnation. I don't remember, but yeah, no, they're doing more self-contained events.
Marvel should have keep their word and done no more events for 2 years. Really.
Yeah, let's get back to the core characters.
Exactly.
some strong stories.
And the best thing they could do right now is a hard reboot and a retcon of the whole universe to what the fans are crying for years now. Before One More Day.
And that's and then that's not like, and that's another thing with Secret Wars. They had that ability. They could have done it then, and they could have come out strong.
Not to. They choose not to, because fuck you, because we know what you want. No. How was it? You don't know what you want. We are giving you what you need.
Yeah.
Well, the worst thing about it is like the whole Secret Wars thing. That right there. That's when for years. I mean, you had Marvel doing, like, hey, look over here what DC's doing. DC's doing Challengers of the Unknown and Doom Patrol. Let's do X-Men. Hey, they got Justice League. Let's do Fantastic Four kind of stuff.
But that's, there's okay. Let's count how many X books they've got right now. Well, Generation X has been canceled. X-Men Red, X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold, Astonishing X-Men.
The New Mutants.
No, I think Uncanny's done. New X-Men is done. But yeah, like just for teams, not including the Iceman. Well, Iceman's being canceled.
Cable, Wolverine.
Cable, Weapon X, which actually has been really.
New Mutants is coming out.
New Mutants coming out. Exiles. Weapon 8. Yeah, it's like all these, like, not everybody can keep up with everything. Like, why not just have 2 solid books that are, but they want to cash cow, they make as much money. But it's like, how are you going to make much money if you're putting out shit quality?
Yeah,
exactly. And here's the thing. If you start having everybody be, if you have 2 Spider-Mans, what's special about Spider-Man then?
Yeah. I mean, so with what came out of Spider-Verse, I actually really liked Silk. I liked the character. I identified her because she had anxiety issues. I'm like, oh, cool. I can relate to this character because I too suffer from anxiety, but then the way she was written and it was handled, it was done very poorly. She had potential to be a good character, but then again, it takes away, but she was bitten by the same spider that Peter Parker was. So it's like, okay, well.
Oh, the spider didn't die like we always believe it.
Yeah.
Now the new character, Voyager.
It's a girl. But I think she's gonna be, and that's another thing. Like, what was it? I read a couple issues of, what is it? Totally Awesome Hulk, because Silk was in a crossover, and the way that Greg Pak handled that team, like that it was quote unquote the Asian invasion or whatever, the protectors, they did it in a way, like he did it in a way that wasn't forced, it wasn't contrived, it actually worked. I really enjoyed those 6 issues of a team up.
Greg Pak can write when he wants, You should read his Mech Cadet U.
Yeah,
it's great.
Well, yeah, that's like, isn't that like more of a passion project than anything? Like that's a creator owned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's in Boom Studios.
Yeah, I think we get a couple issues. I might have to track down or I can just grab it on Comixology. And that's another thing is I do half and half. I do half digital and half floppy copy.
Yeah.
So stuff that I want to read, but I don't necessarily want to collect, I usually read on either Comixology, the DC app, or Marvel. I wait a couple months for it to come out on Marvel Unlimited.
Yes.
But I pay for the product because much like the movie industry with the pirating, people did work to create that medium. I need, and you should, if you enjoy it, you should support it. Yes. I know money might be a hard thing, but if you like Marvel, paying $9.99 for maybe like having to wait a few months, for the most current issue to come out, or being a little behind, you're still paying for the product. You're still doing it legally. You're still supporting the industry. And I have a lot more respect for people that do that than anybody that's actually complaining and pirating. And then complaining about the quality. It's like, well, you don't spend money. Fuck you. Like, you're not putting money into.
But here's the thing: the people that pirate, most of the pirating is done by the people that are asking for these special characters. not for the people complaining about quality.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I absolutely love this Move the Needle movement, because it's showing that, hey, Marvel, people and DC and Image and Boom and whatever, you know, we're paying customers. Like, we want good stories. Like, we don't, and the whole thing with escapism, I don't read comic books because I want to know where people stand politically. No, I read comics because, yeah, it's like, or I don't even watch the news. I listen to, you know, I don't even watch mainstream media news anymore. I just can't. I'd like listen to NPR, read articles, but I go to multiple news sources, not just one. Yes. Heaven forbid you use logic.
And that's another thing about comics right there. The idea, like getting the word out. And I like and also hate the idea of a few select kind of comic prophets, as I kind of coined it. It's like people wait with bated breath. What comic should I get? Oh, comic prophet, you shall get this comic because I have deemed it worthy. Like, no, go out there and use your, you know, like go through the comics. There are if it's on Comixology, like if it just came out, like say if the comic just came out, like, you know, hopefully your store would have it either on the racks, new issues, or, you know, on the like kind of the back issue racks before they go into boxes. Go through, look for a couple pages, maybe read it. Maybe if you're on social media, maybe Google the name, or like say, check on Twitter, see if you've been block botted. If somebody block bots me, I don't care how good the comic looks. I'm not buying
it. No. Here's the thing, okay? I don't
know what.
I don't care, really. I don't care so much if you block people as how you treat.
Yeah, like you could, yeah, like the block bot thing, but alienating 50,000 people.
Interact with me.
50,000 people that would buy your product is
that's stupid. To
it
block
is
them.
so
yes,
stupid. I don't care what political, you know, affiliation you have. You're pretty much telling 50 potential, and like, yeah, like diversity in comics is absolutely right. Like, you are alienating 50,000 potential, now almost 60,000. He's like, what, at 58,000 follower or whatever, around subscribers. Like that, like to dismiss that, which is okay with DC, you know, their top growth selling and shipping books sell like 100 and what plus, that's half of that. Like, that is an untapped market that they would be stupid to alienate. Again, people that don't think of this as a business standpoint blow my fucking mind. Like, I don't understand it, because you know, like I said, I work at a comic shop, but I have to think of it from a salesman mentality. Exactly. I have to make money. I have and the biggest disservice I could ever do is recommend a bad book.
Yes.
Simple logic. Like, I'm not going to recommend something I don't enjoy, but if somebody's curious about it, I'll let them, hey, you know, I haven't heard the best reviews, but if you know, maybe it's something you might like if you like XYZ. You know, I'm not going to say don't buy it because I want their money, but I'm just saying, hey, if you pick it up and I'm going to warn you, you might not enjoy it. It might not be for you, but it might be for you. You might love it. So, you know, I'm not going to say don't buy this thing, because guess what? As a person that works in a shop that needs to make revenue, yes, buy that. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I try to come from, a very logical standpoint and very non-confrontational, and I'm you know, like, hey, you know, there's people that don't always agree with you, but I'm going to listen to what you have to say and not judge you for it. You know what I mean? Like, I try to come from a place of love, and that's how I live my life. I'm a very simple person with, you know.
2 points. First, Switch Point says, how dare you think about making money? You should just push the agenda. Now, that was one.
Ah, dude. So I love Switch Point. I like listening to his streams too. What's that Switch Point?
Second point, I used to work in the restaurant business, and many waiters try to sell you the most expensive stuff, you know, and that's not good in the long run, because the client can feel cheated, robbed. If you sell them you try to sell them what they will like. So you have to ask them, get to know them a little bit.
Yeah, and it
You
takes
know?
a good.
Do you like spicy food? Do you like mild
Yeah,
food?
and that's another
No?
thing too. When I go to a restaurant and I want to try something new, I ask the waiter. I'm like, "Hey, what's good?"
Yeah.
And then if they recommend something that I love, guess who's getting a big tip? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, duh. Like, hello. Yeah, I don't know. It just
Exactly. Yes.
that's the one thing that frustrates me more than
And
anything.
in comics, I think it should be the same. You know, I know you have to make money, but better to sell stuff that the client will love you because you told him this book was good. You know.
Yeah. And thank you so much for the praise. Thank you so much for the love. And I'm the same way. Like there's a couple writers that have put out content that I will buy whatever they put out because it's usually good. So I push Jeff Loveness. He doesn't have like he of course he's
Oh, now is my dog.
he may be he comes from a different perspective of whatever political views, but he does not treat fans and customers shitty.
Yeah.
Like Sean Gordon Murphy has earned so much, and honestly, him, Patrick Zerker, even Cullen Bunn, who had me blocked for a while.
Oh God,
me.
I hate I don't like him at all. And I'm not the biggest fan. But there's an artist I follow that's doing a book called Dark Arc, and I have absolutely loved it. Like I'm supporting an artist I really like. I like his style. I've gotten a couple commissions from him. So yeah, I'm reading 2 Colin books right now from Aftershock, Unholy Grail and Dark Arc. I'm like, dude, this is some freaking cool shit. And I highly recommend those books, guys. You should pick them up. They're awesome. You can wait for trade. They're great. They're great reads. But I'm a sucker for Arthurian mythology, so.
Well, I think that was the one I actually saw the cover for because there was a cover somebody retweeted, and I saw it was the pencils for it, and it was I believe that was the one that has there's 2. I think there's knights on the cover, and there's a king or something behind them.
Yeah,
the kind of Arthurian looking thing. I was like, that looks fantastic. I think it's gonna look even better, ink colored, everything like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I highly recommend if you're interested in all that. And then another Aftershock, but Pestilence. It's take it I don't like zombies, but the way that the author is what was it? The plague is actually a zombie breakout. That's cool. I'm down. Take a historical event and change it up. The stories are there. History is a great place to pull from. Fairy tales are a great place to pull from.
Exactly.
I don't know. It just yeah, but I forgot where I was going with that. But anyway.
What I'm saying is I've got to the point now. It's I can't I don't have too many things. There's people I follow. There's a couple British artists. One of them, it's kind of sad because I think he's in his 50s. He's trying to be still this punk rocker. Though he's living off the dole kind of thing when he's not writing comics and everything. I'm like, okay, I get it. But it's kind of funny. But they're decent people. Don't always agree with them and that kind of thing. But they haven't done block they block people, but manually. But it's I don't feel like giving somebody some money. So it's you're just butthurt, Larry. You don't want to, yeah. So guess what? I'm not going to pay somebody just so they could if they can't have a say a possibility of an open discussion where I have to go through somebody else that isn't blocked because I follow the wrong person or I've said the wrong, that kind of thing. It's usually to follow the wrong person. Somebody put a blockchain on Peter Ciametti, the guy that runs Turner Comics, because he asked him, please don't twist my words. I didn't mean it like that. It's how dare you? You're evil and hateful and everything like that. I'm you first off, using evil and hateful for don't twist my words. You don't know what evil and hateful is. I have seen evil and hateful, and that is not it. But
yeah, actually, I just want to bring. I just saw Switchpoint say, I have friends of mine. Some are moderate feminists, and they agree that they should have their own books, and I should have my own. This is the proper way to look at things. And
exactly.
I'm a little bit of a feminist, because I'm all I don't want to make less than somebody doing the same job, but at the same time, I don't want to get hired because I'm a female. I want to get hired because I can do the job better than the next man. If my husband didn't have balls and he was a pussy, I would divorce him. I'm I like men. I don't deface men. I like men. Clearly, I like manly men. I mean, look who I I'm fans of. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like, but at the same time, I want to be treated as a person, not as gender or not as an XY crow. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I wanted to be treated like a person. I don't want to be treated like something special.
I honestly see, like I guess you could call, like, if I had to boil it down, I guess I'd be staunch anti-feminist, but I'm pro anti-discrimination. I think nobody should be discriminated against because of, who they are or what they happen to be attracted to or have sex with, that kind of thing. But when it becomes a problem, that's when it becomes a problem. Like when it becomes like that's, like disruptive in the environment. Like, oh, like I'm not gonna be able to make it today because of something. Like like excuses, and like how can you do that against, like, because certain people have hijacked the feminism for their own means. The same thing with anything else, any movements. That's why I've not really got into the push the needle Comicsgate thing. I've not really got into. I've been on the periphery. I'm like kind of I'm not Switzerland, but close enough to like I'm not but it's because my concern is somebody hijacking it, and all it takes is like treat it like one of those like 24. If Jack Bauer coming after you, putting a power drill to your shoulder, wouldn't know where the bomb is. If you don't know, if you're a part of a cell, like a pro comic book cell, you just want comics to be good, and you have like multiple options. If you want Spider-Man that has a family, great. If you want Spider-Man, the billionaire, fine. And it's like, well, the continuity doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just make good comics.
Yeah, exactly.
But being cell and being isolated from everything else, like. Because the problem being a part of a community, it's a community. Like I used to love going to comic conventions. Like there's a comic convention in Charlotte, North Carolina called Heroes Con.
I've been there twice. I love that convention.
Okay, cool. So but that right there, I started going in 2000, and I did 2000 to 2011, and then I skipped 2012, 2013, went 2014, 15. Didn't go 16, but it went last year. But from 2000 to 2011, had a wonderful time. It was just like, yeah, but then like, and I hate to like, but I guess comics, the Marvel movie started happening, after X-Men, and then with the Dark Knight and Marvel, like really, like once like 2008 hit, you had Dark Knight, you had Iron Man, you had all this and that, and like you get that kind of stuff popping up. And in doing so, it did bring more people, but they seem much more superficial. And like, and I guess and it isn't like people like, oh, the fake geek girls. I'm like, no, just people that don't have kind of that passion. Maybe they eventually will, but it does feel kind of like it's like you have like a wonderful soup and it tastes great, and it's been added to over time. And then somebody just pours a big old bucket of water in there to like thin it out. Like still technically soup, but it doesn't have the same taste or consistency.
I just like, I don't care how passionate or how devoted of a reader you are. The fact that you can enjoy something makes me happy. You know what I mean? I don't care. Like that's another thing is like I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's like why are they any less a fan than like, oh, I have almost every issue of Wolverine and almost, that whatever. But if somebody wants to get into Wolverine, I'm not going to get mad at them for not collecting and having read everything. I mean, I have issues that I haven't read yet, because I just haven't had time. So,
well, my thing is,
but I'm a terrible fan, right? But I'm so bad, But
well, what gets me is like, I guess it's kind of like like if you have somebody that's kind of seasoned, and then you got somebody that's like coming up, and it's like it's hard to like whether it's like a job or whatever, or let's say you guys been doing this for 10, 15 years, and then the new hire, doesn't know his ass from his elbow kind of thing, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of like because when I first going to Heroes Con till like it's like 2008 and onwards, roughly around that time, it's like maybe 2009, where you'd have people standing in front of rows of long boxes. And you'd see these guys, like even kids. Like you see, like you see the father, you see the kids, because right next to each other. That's pretty sure that's father and kid. You let your kid just wander off the convention. That's kind of creepy, even with security and stuff. That's but going through like looking through the long.
Back on my feet.
Okay,
What's
good.
creepy?
You scared the hell out of me with that.
What's creepy?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
Yeah.
What's creepy?
The like you see, like when people let their kid like. some comic conventions, there are some really creepy comic people. There can be, just like any community, like anybody can be creepy, but especially a big convention center where the kid could wander off or be kind of like escorted. Get a lot of kids like me. I was told like if somebody tried to wander off with me to fight them, like tooth and nail kind of thing, like that. Like I was like, that's good parenting right there. Don't just because somebody don't just like go with somebody like they threaten you. You punch them and run kind of thing or fight them. It's like, like nowadays, most parents wouldn't even let their kids go out of the house, it seems like, or the kids wouldn't even go out of the house.
I had a conversation with somebody about that. Like when I was younger in the summer, we would do a night tag. So all the kids in the street, and the rules are, from the end of the street to the other, dark, dressed in all black, hot. But the parents usually... Yeah, the parents would all get together, drink wine or have a beer, and they would hang out at the safe, the safe zone, this tree. And then all their kids would be running around and playing. But even then, like, I had to be home either at dark or before dark. But like I had very little restrictions. Like, even my parents were very liberal in that sense of like, as long as I know where you are, do whatever you want,
Yeah.
And it's just now it's like kids can't even like... well, apparently they can't even play in their own front yard. That's child abuse now.
Yes.
I'm like, what? You're not, a kid can't go outside and enjoy.
They took out, a lot of stuff from kids, especially from boys. They can't be kids anymore.
Yeah, and the idea of tomgirls, like the tomboys and everything. Sorry, girls, but tomboys, like you say, you were one. I grew up with tomboys, and they were the funnest to be around. Because, like, especially that, before, like, you started thinking of girls, like, in a, romantic way or whatever. Like, I'd have crushes, but, that's about it. And, like, they were, nowadays, like, that's like, oh, she wants to, like, that just means.
That doesn't mean I want to be a boy. It means I do, like, boy shit. Like, I play basketball, I play flag football,
Well, no. You don't get it. Men and women are exactly the same. We don't evolve from the neck up.
Completely.
Well, men are a mutant because considering we are a broken
and that's
woman.
Another thing too.
Yes.
Okay, so here's my beef with one of the biggest beefs I had with Civil War II is the fact that Carol was Tony's sponsor. My husband's been sober for about 3.5 years. I'm very involved in the AA and Al-Anon community. That would never happen. That's suspended my belief. That's what really got my beef. A female never sponsors a male. A male never sponsors a female. One is because the interactions and the effects of alcoholism are different for females than it is for males. And like I have an Al-Anon sponsor that's a female because, we're affected by alcoholism different than men are affected by alcoholism, whether it's you're an active participant or you're from the effect of the abuse.
The family.
The family. So that, and that's something that should be like isolated and like that's a community that should follow those guidelines because of the fact, like, I will have more empathy and more understanding of the wife of an alcoholic than I do of a male, a husband of an alcoholic, like a female alcoholic, because it's very, very different.
Yes.
So so that's one of the things that I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is bullshit. This person clearly does not understand alcoholism.
So recruiting children for she was basically like drafting children into combat as well during that run. It's like that's the thing.
No. It's did you see the interview, the Marvel interview that Edwin shared?
No, I hadn't.
No.
Okay, I saw it completely.
Okay.
They were talking about how Steve was a Nazi, okay? And all the heroes that sided with him. Tell me one thing. Do you really think Frank would ever have anything to do with a Nazi?
I mean, Frank Castle?
Hell no.
No. The thing about it is, like,
exactly.
Frank Castle,
so
he's a Yeah,
they don't they don't only ruin Cap, they ruined Punisher, they ruined everybody that was working with Steve. They ruined it.
well, that's the thing. Like, what that actually brings me back to Feisty. Were you reading comics like back in around the first Civil War? Were you reading comics back then?
No, I fell out after like a 2000, like right at before I got out of high school. I stopped reading, and then up until 2000, like pretty much. That's why in 2009, I'm like, I haven't been to a convention in a couple of years. It's something I'm not really into anymore. And then after when Superior Spider-Man ended,
Oh, don't remind me that.
I know, but my friend was like, "Hey, Peter's coming back. You might start get into," and like she was telling me about Original Sin, so that's when I hopped back on. But there was like a good 8-9 years that I'm still catching up with. So, yeah.
Well, I was reading it at the time, and I remember I was working nights. That's basically what I worked for many years. And like, oh, you'll get used to it. That's a damn lie. And, like, we should drink coffee. It's like, well, when you can't really go, there's the closest restroom is like 100 yards away. Yeah, that's not going to cut it. But I remember watching. It was one of these. It was like one of the late night. I think it was actually Nightline, and they actually did a thing on Civil War. With the whole, and the death of Captain America after that. But the whole idea of Civil War, like the heroes fighting each other, because Marvel was able to get some, and it was Nightline's in ABC, which is a division of Disney, which eventually they bought them. So kind of funny how that
Disney
works
will
out.
Own everything. Yep.
Yeah, they're gonna own everything. They're gonna they're gonna own your soul.
Yes.
You're born and like you gotta.
You can't own a soul if you don't have one. Sorry, I digress.
I was like, man, I was gonna sell mine for a Datsun. But yeah, like they were interviewing oh crap, what was his name? They were interviewing Joe Quesada, and about how Marvel's doing this and we're taking a new direction. This is the Mark Miller, this Steve McNiven, which the heroes fighting heroes over the stupidest thing. Like how many people have died because of superhero intervention over the years? Like when Galactus shows up, or when Namor flooded New York and killed how many people in the Golden Age?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Stuff like how many times Magneto's killed people, and they kind of pulled the whole, and it's in a way timely and we sometimes get political here, but we're trying not. I'm just saying it's like the kids that died. The new I think it's actually similar. What was his, not TNT, like what was his name? TNT Nitro blew up against the preschool and killed all the kids in the comic, and so like superhero registration now and this and that, and so Cap's like, no, this is wrong, and that kind of, and then Iron Man, the reckless playboy, the multimillionaire playboy is like, no, this is the right thing to do. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm reading a comic. I'm like, okay, the mother of the kid, the one that's spearheading this initiative is going to be like Loki or some kind of alien or that kind of thing. I thought that's what like the whole get the heroes to fight each other and then the heroes team up in the end and battle. And then how's the comic end? It ends with, the what I quoted as the 9/11 heroes with the firefighters, EMS, and police tackling Captain America. Look what you've done to the city, and like there's a couple cars on fire. I'm like, Galactus did much more damage than this, and then Captain America just gives up, and then he gets killed off.
That's why I don't like the way Marvel does it.
No, and that's the thing.
They have real cities.
Well, and that's a problem. Like when Metropolis gets destroyed, it does. Like at the end of the day, Metropolis is the world of the future. City of tomorrow is supposed to be like like light rails and all that kind of stuff, and they have science police, that kind of stuff. But when you have real world, and that's the whole, like when I mentioned the the black issue of Spider-Man, of Amazing Spider-Man, the September 11th issue. It's just it's really in bad taste. It's easier because everybody was living in New York when they were writing those comics. That was the thing. They were living, like, that's back when there were slums in New York, people living down, like, where Wall Street and stuff is, now is like built up, these like $1 million apartments. Now they're just living like this, like, squalor, sitting in the back. I was reading, like, it was the Human Torch Namor issue, where they flood New York, was done in like a weekend. It's like 60 pages. They did it in a weekend. One guy was like in a bathtub and just like sitting there with like the artboard, just doing, I don't think taking a bath, but he was just in there. I guess his wife told him to get out of the kitchen or something, or get out of the But it's like probably in those houses were like the kitchen and living room, basically the same place. You had the dining table, door, the kitchen, but the stove. But now it's, it just feels really off because, of course, they take it in certain directions, certain political directions, and push their narrative. And in doing so, it's like I buy this escapism. I want to be entertained, and having to you need to be an ally. What issue was that? Was it Ravage or one of the New Warriors? He's being told, being talked down to, you need to be an ally, not what you are now. You need to be an ally. It's like, this is just, no, you don't do this. This is wrong. But this isn't comics. This is. But have you? Do you have any hopes for comics coming out?
For Marvel, no.
Well, in general, across the board, whether it be creator owned or DC, that kind of thing.
Sorry, I was reading the chat. What was that again?
That's fine. Of course, the running theme of my life. No one listens to me.
No, I can't.
No, it's do you have any hope for whether it be comics coming out that? Maybe Marvel will actually clean up their act. Maybe they'll Cebulski Yoshida Shogun will change things. Or stuff you're looking forward to from the indie side, creator owned, DC.
Of course, I'm always going to have hope for any storytelling that they do. I mean, the fact that with this No Surrender Avengers thing, they're bringing Bruce back, people that love the Hulk, because totally they are going to Awesome Hulk doesn't sell that great. So, or what is it now? The Incredible Hulk, and that's another case in point where there's a title of a book, but the character isn't. And then what you were saying earlier with, having the MCU movies, I think the comic book medium is another way to tell other stories. But if you're doing a successful job in one area, maybe the comic books should mirror what's kind of going on outside. Not necessarily have to be the same.
Mirror. No, not mirror, but you should be able.
You should be able to pick up an Invincible Iron Man book and Tony Stark.
Yes.
And so with the new No Surrender, I'm seeing that slowly. I mean, it's going to take time. It is definitely going to take time. Probably within the next 6 months to a year, we'll start seeing, I think, better stories. Maybe some of the characters that we like again.
So. I don't.
You don't think so?
I really don't think so. I don't think CB has the balls to pull.
Well, he did take Slot off of or whatever that is. Slot's leaving Spider-Man, so that's.
No. He would need to fire a lot of people. He needs to get at least a couple of the most toxic ones.
Or make them want to quit. That's my goal.
Right. Need to be made an example of, so the others will take notice. That's what you do when you get to as the new head.
Well, you can't do that. This ain't 1960s no more. Now that would be considered harassment, targeted harassment in a corporate level. And they would have. Here's the thing: when you have an entire pool of people that are okay with certain things being said, if I had cut, let's say one of my coworkers, my boss was a woman, and previous job I had, boss was a woman, 2 coworkers were women. She was much more slack on them than she was me because they were late because they said, "Oh, my kids." I'm like, okay, I get this occasionally, but this is there was more than one day. There was 2 months every Saturday when my coworker's work week would start. She would be at least 15, if not an hour and a half late. And I'll make it up to you. Never did. I got to the point that says, just pay me cash. When you get in, you better have the cash. You cover what because I wasn't going to get compensated through the company. So yeah, that kind of thing. So I was like, you pay me cash for staying over. It's like you want to spend extra time at home, or you overslept. That's a penalty you got to pay.
Yes.
But when it where was I going? But no, but with Cebulski, you have you can't go with that. You can't be that aggressive. You got to be a little smarter. You got to either
you got to back burner to be that aggressive.
You can't be.
Aggressive. Be aggressive. Sorry.
It would be nice.
Marvel should have gotten Jim Shooter.
Well, that's not going to happen though, because
Jim Shooter, yeah.
But that's
they should have hired him, and he would have the ship sailing right.
But that's the problem. He got pushed out when he couldn't. Well, he wanted to buy the company, and then that Ron Perlman, not the actor, but this businessman. But that whole thing, and it's like, but the biggest problem is Quesada's still around as like chief creative officer, whatever that means. It's
exactly.
Like, and that right there, so like,
you Quesada, need to get rid of, I don't know, Quesada, maybe Brevoort and Slot. You get rid of those three, and the rest fall in line.
Well, that right there, like especially Brevoort, because Brevoort is all all the editors report to him and everything, and there are certain, like we talked with Josh last week, there's, and I'm pretty sure that's like kind of not standard, but within the industry, you have writers are not supposed to talk to artists; it's supposed to go through the editor, and that's in certain case. I don't think that's all across the industry, but I think that's pretty, I think that's kind of one of those, you got that editor acts as a liaison.
I don't mean get rid of the position. I mean get rid of the person.
No. What I'm saying is like, well, that's the problem. The editors report to Brevoort. So Brevoort stuff goes down. Shit rolls downhill, and Brevoort does a lot of shit, and so that reflects upon and editors and Brevoort. These people, they talent scout. They go for the certain people. That's why, like Marvel, when you look at X-Men books,
they don't talent scout.
Well, that's the problem.
They
the
hire
X-Men
friends.
books, you could actually pick up an X-Men book and like back in the day, and like look at all the artists that come off an X-Men book.
Yes,
John
I know.
Byrne, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, all this stuff. Now you look at that was a potato-headed baby from that was the X-Men Red. That whereas like
that's the thing too. I actually love that artist when he is on his game. I think he's a very what was Mahmoud Asrar? Yeah.
Braylon, who's part of the show as well, he was like singing praises, and I see this, and I'm like, dude, you got some bad taste. But it was just like, I guess, but I can understand like one or two panels, like Rags Morales. I actually hated that first issue of Action Comics that Rags Morales did with the New 52 when they did that, where Superman just had a T-shirt and a jeans, and all that stuff, where everybody had googly eyes, and like when I was bigger or smaller, it was like really rushed. It looked like, and it was just it was badly done. And it was like Rags Morales could do better. He did amazing work on the Hawkman, and but you look at Marvel, and now it's like I can understand if their art looks like something from a Boom book, and that's not necessarily slamming Boom, but that's just what they go for. They go for more of that crowd. It doesn't look like a Marvel really book. Yeah, Boom can do really good stuff. Like they did. When I read recently, I actually started reading it years ago, and the store dropped off and everything, this and that. But it was Dust to Dust.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't.
Duander's Dream of Sheep from Dust to Dust is like a prequel to the actual novel, not the movie Blade Runner, but yeah, beautiful art. But that's the problem. Marvel doesn't have that. You don't really have that artist drive, and like
they want to pay peanuts to make up for the sales.
Well, it's also the fact that you have like you should feel privileged to work for Marvel, because if you want to quit, I could go hire a third world person today, or even I could get how many people would want to work on this book? They would pay us. They would pay us to draw Spider-Man. That's how twisted people
20 years ago, maybe.
Well, there's some people like that. No, there's still people like that, man. There's some diehards that they're zealots. But you're saying something feisty before I cut you off, unfortunately.
Oh no, I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh yeah, so like one of the big consensus is, with Thanos, for instance, the last 3 issues going to second, third prints. I'm very happy that Marvel snatched up Donny Cates. I read God Country. Fantastic book. Oh God, I love and in fact, so these people that are Marvel readers that are reading Thanos and Doctor Strange that are like, oh, I'm really liking this writer. I'm like, oh, well, here's the trade of God Country. You actually, that way I can support the writer and actually pitch a good story to some. Oh, you like this writer? There's more of his work. You like this artist? Here's more of his work. That's actually what. Not unfortunately, but I got into Inhumans because I love Joe Mad. This is Joe Mad art. Holy shit! Like, so I snapped, but I'm like, oh wait, he's only on the first 4 issues. Womp womp. The bait and switch. The bait and switch. Yeah. So I'm like,
I don't know if you've ever had this issue. I've noticed it.
No, I have plenty of issues, Larry.
Oh. Well, you ain't the only one, sister. You ain't the only one.
You walk it in that.
Well, of course I did. It's like a booby trap, but
yeah.
But the issue when Marvel does Marvel does these, it's an ongoing series and it'll maybe last 8 issues, 7 issues, and then they, because of poor sales, and you can kind of feel that they planned it would only last about that many issues. Because there's certain books that would go on a little further than that, and they feel like they were kind of hastily put together. Because you only get 2-3 months,
And that's another thing too. It's with the whole Marvel putting out shit books. Like I said before, it would be a disservice to my customers to recommend bad storytelling or bad art or, I've been the first time I actually picked up a ASM book in the last year and a half was actually what Threat Level Red #1. And I did the first thing, I did something I never have done before was actually throw a book. As a collector, that's not something, but I tossed it across my living room. I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit? But everybody's like, oh my God, Carnage. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. So, I mean, so it's hard. That's why when people ask, oh, what's Spider-Man up to? I'm like, It's a very hard question to answer because I'm like, the quality of
the coach of his not girlfriend.
Yeah,
ask me
and she's the more prevalent hero in his book. It's just like really, oh my God, it makes me want to pull my hair out. I'm like, and Diversity in Comics says, a hero in a book has to be awesome at least once. But I haven't seen Peter be awesome in ASM in a while.
You know what? You could make an arc where the hero is second fiddle, but an arc.
Yeah, not every single book.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm very I've loved Chip Zdarsky since for a while. I follow him. I love his artwork too. I really like his work on sex criminals. The premise of that book is really crazy, and I think it's really interesting and neat. So then I started reading Howard the Duck, and then I read his Star-Lord 6-issue miniseries, and that was actually done very well. It was funny. It made sense for what the story was, with Star-Lord being grounded, because I think that was the story arc of the 6-issue run. But seeing Old Man Logan naked talking to Star-Lord and him that panel just killed me. I was like, this is fucking hilarious. So yeah, if you guys haven't read the Star-Lord arc that Chip Zdarsky did, I highly recommend that too. If you I enjoy a good read.
You know what you haven't done yet, Feisty?
What?
You haven't given a shout out to your store.
I don't want to do that yet, so okay. I still want to remain anonymous.
No problem.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah.
You name a store and it doesn't take
Yeah, I know.
Creepy. Yeah,
I'm only telling her if she wants, she can.
Okay, the option's there, but it's options on the table. It's like me. I had an issue, even though I exercised my Second Amendment rights pretty healthily. I've had people one of my previous employments said, "Hey, you live," and they describe exactly where I live and everything like that. And I'm like, and not in a aggressive manner, more like kind of a enthusiastic manner, and that even creeped me out more. And so I made sure, I got home, I made sure the doors were locked and everything, and I pulled a firearm right next to me while I was sitting at the drawing table, and I'm like, if I hear glass breaking, it's all out war because I ain't taking no chances because people are crazy. But yeah, that's creepy when people can find out where I know where you are. I'm like, all right, fine. Well, it's gonna be me or you, and pretty much going to be me.
Yeah, I mean, I would, but maybe after it closes, because they are switching to an online venture, much like Midtown. So maybe I've said too much already.
Well,
so
I don't. That's that's still kind of vague, and I think keeping it vague is best for now. Again, like I said, you're what you're comfortable with. But one of the things I've noticed about comic book stores in the past couple years is when they do those. Was your store, to your knowledge, ever involved with the retailer summits that Diamond would do?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait. I'm trying to think. Maybe a few years ago, before I was an employee.
Okay, where they would invite, because they would Diamond would invite, the retailers to, like, I believe it was like, which comic convention was it? I know they do some like certain, but they do the retailer summits. Like I think one of them is at the Baltimore Comic Con or something. Like one of them's there. But yeah, they bring the retailers out. It's like, hey, talk up, like what's going on, and it like the retailers wanted to get together, but and kind of they could demand change. But yeah, it's one of those things like it's kind of going to be an issue.
Yeah, and
who demands change?
They don't cater to the retailer. Like, it's like, we're selling your product, but we're telling you this product is hard to sell, and then you do nothing. Like, how does that, oh, well, why should we even bother and that's another thing my boss did is like, once this all last year started happening, he leaned up Marvel orders to 1 to 2 issues for the wall, and if people wanted it, we would special order it. There's no reason to order something that's not going to sell. You know what I mean? It's just not good business.
Yes.
Well, that's one of those things, like you're dealing with,
they are not catering to the final customer, the fan. They are not catering to the comic book store. Who are they catering to?
The companies, apparently, themselves mainly.
Mainly.
Yeah, themselves. Like, it's like the government issue. It's like the government should be afraid of the people. It's like the V for Vendetta thing. The people should not be afraid of the government should be afraid of the people. And that's how it should be for the retailers. Retailers should not be worried that Diamond's going to short them. Diamond should be worried that retailers are going to say, F you, we're going to go directly.
Yes, exactly.
That's the thing. Like, if Marvel opened up the option, because with the digital, what makes no sense is, and maybe they have it and I've never seen it, but if you'd think they'd be spreading the word of it. Okay, if the Previews magazine exists in physical form, it should exist as a PDF. It doesn't. You can download a PDF like this week's comics or this month's solicitations via PDF, and you can go through it yourself digitally. Yeah. And that right there. But no, you have to pay $5 for that. Plus grabbing and it's a phone book, and you get like 2 months of that. I used to shoot them as target practice because I also find out how many bullets it would take to go stop. How many Previews magazine would take to stop.
Yeah, and sorry, Switchpoint brings up a good point. He's like, there's also the problem with Diamond and Marvel demanding that stores buy certain books before getting others. Yes, that's exactly what happened with the lenticular thing, and that hurt us more than anything is because we had to order a certain amount of issues before we would be allowed to get access to a certain cover, and it's ridiculous. That's a scam too. That's the whole idea of variance. Yeah. And the idea of it's like, well, it could be worth this much. To be fair, I flipped my Edge of Spider-Verse #2 Greg Land variant. I bought it at 20, sold it for 500. So, yay. Okay. I was like, case in point for me. Yeah, I'm like that. I turn a profit.
But see that right there, that worked out for you in that regard. I've seen so many people that buy up those variant stuff, and then I don't know what. And honestly, I don't know what was in their head. I didn't quiz them, throughout the whole process. But they come away disappointed. It's like, well, this isn't 1989 where you bought a Golden Age Superman comic, the first appearance or whatever, and are able to flip it for basically a car or whatever, that kind of thing. You're not able to do that anymore for the most part. Like, you can do it, but it's very the system's very picky, and these people that just put stuff up there is like, oh, I got it graded and slabbed and all this that.
The thing is with incentive copies, it's supposed to be rare, and so that way, hey, it's a gimmick for retailers. they put out, you know, for like the ratioed variants, like 1 of 25, 1 of 50, 1 of 100. So to have access to that, we have to order a specific amount. But we know, like, say, for instance, that, God, if we had that cover, we would sell more copies of that book. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I really appreciate DC's way of doing things. It's like, 50-50. Oh, I can actually buy, because with the Batman run, I'm a huge Tim Sale fan. I don't know why. I just love the noir look of his art. It's attractive to me. So I bought every single Tim Sale cover of Batman, the new Rebirth one. And then now with Oliver Copier doing the covers, I'm like, holy shit, these are beautiful pieces of artwork. So if I like the art, I'm gonna buy it because I like art. Art's sexy. It turns me on. So
okay.
I'm being
like, well, I know.
I have to have a good story to go to with the art, you know.
I mean, like, of course.
I need it. I need it. I can
combination.
I can read something that has not such a good art, but it's a good story.
Oh yeah, no. A bad art won't kill a book, but good art won't save a book. You have to have a good story. That's hands down number one. Like, I can get over the fact that a book is not drawn well, but if the story is captivating enough, I can forgive that. So I completely agree in that. But a good art can't save a bad story.
Well, it's like that's the thing. It's like you got to have a good balance, and I can forgive both. It's a comic that's done, you know, by writer artists, like doing both and everything. I actually prefer that. I actually like this unadulterated from mind to page, not going from the writer to the artist. But it's all there. It's like the guy's coming up with it. Maybe he's coming up with weird ways. Like he's coming up with thumbnails. He's kind of plotting it out in his head as he goes. He has the ending in mind. He's going to figure out the beginning and all this and that. It's like kind of like what Sean Gore Murphy's doing. I appreciate everything except for the product, and I said that previously.
Yeah.
But with, you know, you have these, like, you know, the writer-driven books. That's what concerns me about the upcoming Bendis run on both Superman books. They're giving them both Superman books. Bendis on superhero comics. I'm
really worried about that.
I don't think that's like it's gonna be there. I know from, I don't read Superman, but from what I gather and what customers tell me, there are two very different stories. Like, I don't know how, like, and that's another thing is I think writers shouldn't be on like maybe more than 2 or 3 books because they're going to get spread too thin.
Well, that's the thing. They gave them both Superman books, I'm not mistaken, both Action and Superman.
It's not about the 2 books. It's about it being Superman. I believe they should have given him something to grow up.
Yeah, because it's a different. Marvel and DC are really.
I wish they had given him, I don't know, for instance, Blue Beetle, not the old one, Jaime Reyes.
I was actually joking. They made Signal for Brian Bendis because Signal seems like a Brian Bendis kind of character.
Or that, yes, or give him that. You know, make him grow it.
Yeah,
yeah,
and then
prove himself because it's like Marvel and DC are different beasts.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Like Marvel, like
the last stuff that he has been putting out. Oh, come on.
Well, yeah, his hero stuff. Like, if it was something like if they said Brian Bendis is coming over to DC and he's doing GCPD or something like that, like a new run of GCPD, I'm like,
that was great.
I would be down for because the Brubaker Rucka stuff with I think it was oh crap, I forgot the artist, Michael Lark. I'm not mistaken, Michael Lark did the art for a lot of it, but that brilliant comics. I recommend that to, like, it's, if you want superhero stuff that isn't full superhero, like superhero universe, that honestly to me is just the best. Like I think 60 issues is amazing, especially the Renee Montoya stuff with Two-Face thinking he's doing her a favor because it actually time back into No Man's Land, and it's beautiful, beautiful work. But if they said they were doing something like that, I'd be more interested. I'm like, okay, let's see what he does. But then, like, no, let's just give him Superman. I'm like, this is Bendis. You're gonna have a double-page spread of just people talking. You know, it's just gonna be. I remember picking up Ultimate Spider-Man. I kind of gave up eventually. I was like, you know what? What's the point? I was like, eventually it would get better. I was very dumb in my early comic reading buying days, where I was like, it'll get better. it'll get better. I was, like, no, it's not getting better. I'm not enjoying it. People are telling me, you should enjoy this. You'll like this. Oh, it's really good. It's really good. I'm like, maybe I'm not seeing it. Let me read it again. No, I'm not seeing it. Oh, you keep reading it. I was that dumb until I was like, no, damn it. It's not to the point where I almost bashed in a drug dealer's head. Oh, well, he was not drug dealer. He was he was a heroin addict who was dealing coke on the side, and accidentally gave him a ride.
About Superman. Did you read the Action Comics this week?
I didn't. Like, the store sold out. My store sold out of that and cable.
I love when that happens. I love when books sell out. Not maybe for the consumer, but like as a retailer, it's like, yes.
Oh yes, that's good. That's
the ending.
We made our money back.
The ending of that Action Comics this week. Action Comics has me worried.
Oh, it does.
Not anything else, but it has me really, really worried. It's a cliffhanger, and I'm only hoping they don't go the way I think they are going to go.
That's what happened to Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass #1, which this.
Oh, Kick-Ass! I haven't read it yet.
What I'm just saying is, before it came out, like I'd seen the cover. And, because Mark Miller, people were tweeting this stuff. It's like, oh, you got a gold contest going on, this and that. And I enjoyed Super Crooks. I enjoyed Chrononauts. If you've never read Super Crooks, Chrononauts, Huck, and Starlight. Starlight is a fantastic story. Gordon Parlov art. Oh, I love it. That beautiful European style. Kind of a, kind of a Joe Kubert kind of deal. But, yeah, Kick-Ass #1, I flipped through. I was like, oh, I have a feeling where this. I knew where this is going because I'd seen, I just had a feeling, and then of course I was right, and I'm like, yep, back on the shelf it goes.
Yeah,
it's like, and that's what happens sometimes. Like when when a comic becomes predictable, or you're like, oh, don't go this way, and that's what happens. Like and it does, and it's like, they could go a full swerve, but the only thing doing that would be like it was all a dream. And no, nobody wants that. Nobody wants all a dream.
No more. They did it too much.
Oh, they did that Final Crisis. I remember reading Final Crisis, and they basically pulled it was all a dream. Was it? Question mark. Like, oh, give me a break.
No, but they used to do it a lot.
Well, yeah, they
used to do it a lot.
But that's the thing.
I don't remember how many times Lois find out that Superman was Clark Kent, and it was just a dream.
Well, there's an issue. One of my two favorite issues is a Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, book where Superman's walking in the door, and it's like Lois Lane and Lana talking, and then Superman's taking off the glasses, shirt open. It's like, I'm not going. And they're arguing who's Superman's going to marry, who Clark's going to marry, that kind of thing. It's like, I'm not going to marry either of you because it's too stupid to realize I was Superman. Or like, which
I didn't read that.
Lana knew, but whatever. But the other one is a bearded Superman helping Batman fix a flat tire with Batgirl and Supergirl chuckling behind a fence, like pointing and laughing at him. And it turns out it was actually Batmite and Mixia Spitlick and Batgirl, Supergirl's form. So it was like, okay, I get that. That's dumb, and okay, but it technically still happened. But yeah. Bruce Wayne takes off the cowl and he's blonde. He's like an Aryan Superman underneath. He's like, oh, what has happened to me? And it's like, because Captain America really is a DC character, and Batman's really a Marvel character when you think about it. Like if you two swap, no, because Captain America has the optimism. No. Yes,
no,
yes.
I don't. Marvel could have done the stuff that DC has done with Batman.
It'd be interesting to
see. Because they don't have. Marvel doesn't have the Elseworlds.
They have what ifs, and the what ifs were great.
No, not the same. And the Batman Elseworlds are really.
Oh God, I love those. I've actually, like I said, I haven't been into DC as much as I have been in the like I said, when I saw Catwoman being introduced into Rebirth, I jumped on it, and I'm glad that I did. I was able to find a #1 first print. Yeah, like of course, the collector in me, I gotta have first print. But I like thoroughly enjoying these archetypes and the stories that King has. Like I read the King's Vision run, and it was fantastic. I'm sad that it didn't sell as much, but again, going back to having. going back to having good writers, you know, when Matt Fraction was on Hawkeye, the David, is it Aha, whatever. But that run, yeah, like selling 75 plus copies, and now that, you know, Hawkeye is, I mean, not I'm not enjoying Kelly Thompson's Hawkeye run, but I love the Rogan Gambit. Like, well, that was my that's one of my OTPs, man. Like,
hey, wait. What's it that? Fine Corinthian letter.
But you know, selling 75 books over, you know, the 10-7 of a title, you know, it's just, you know, explaining the fact that the changes that you can see as a retailer with the quality is, I think, is valuable. You know, saying, actually, I have evidence that this isn't working, because Hawkeye selling 75 plus copies, selling out, second prints over the 12 issues.
The Kate Bishop run. Yeah, the Kate Bishop, yeah, the Kelly Thompson stuff. Yeah, it's like, and they signed Kelly Thompson on. When she had 2 books canceled, they gave her exclusive.
I know, right?
Another thing I don't think Marvel could pull really well is what they did in the what's the name exactly? Dark Knights Rising, the Wild Hunt. Did you read it?
Well, I haven't. No, I haven't. Oh? Metal stuff, I'm waiting.
Oh, man.
I'm waiting
you
for
don't
that
know
stuff.
what they did with Detective Chimp.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm halfway through that issue.
I never took that character seriously.
Oh, you didn't read, oh, crap. Spirits of, it was not Spirits of Vengeance. It was around the time of Infinite Crisis when him, Enchantress, Blue Devil. Oh, that's like that right there.
I read that, but I never could take those characters seriously.
Oh, he was great in that. And like,
I couldn't get inside it, into it.
Okay, well, fair enough.
What they did in this book, oh man, what they did in this book. No spoilers.
Well, yeah, of course not.
But like, let's take a moment and realize who wrote that book. Grant Morrison.
Yes.
Done. I'm like, come on now.
Well, that's the thing. It's like when back in the day, like when you had, like, yeah, Morrison, Rucka, Wade, and Johns.
Oh, I love Rucka.
When they did, I used to love them. I used to, and then when the Wonder Woman, the tight stuff, and
yeah, that's true.
That was like, I'm like, dude, don't be a prude, man. It's like it isn't. Even if it was panties, she's a woman made of porcelain. Like if that's something like we need to crop that out. I'm like, maybe he didn't like Frank. I don't know. Like, I love Frank Cho's work. Frank Cho, I wish he was doing like a regular book. I know he does more with his little commissions and stuff and everything. And that's a lot of artists. Like, where are all the good artists? They're making more money doing commissions because people want to actually see their work and they can work at their own pace and work on because there is intercompany politics. It's kind of it's a clique. And that's another thing with the comics, to be in the, kind of clique-like. And it'd be nice to just make good comics, guys. We can do this. We can come up with good concepts, and we got these wonderful characters.
Speaking of Cho, the what is it, artist edition, artist edition of Savage Wolverine came out this January. I purchased that. So yes, I have every issue, but it's like I wanted to see
there's
comic
something
in its pure form.
Speaking about Elseworlds, did you read the Earth One once?
Well, for me, I disliked them. I especially hated the Batman one, where Batman never leaves Gotham City.
Really?
Yeah, Batman never leaves Gotham City. Alfred, the whole war vet thing where he's missing a leg. He never leaves Gotham City. Penguin becomes mayor. Martha is an Arkham. So, Martha Arkham.
No, I love that. I love it.
I hated that because it's like
the only one I don't like so much is the Wonder Woman one.
Yeah, that one definitely. The art was okay, and I used to like Yannick Paquette more, especially his Batman Inc. run with Morrison, and I just looked at that. I was like, it does nothing for me. It just and that costume design for Wonder Woman is like, this is supposed to be like the DC version of Ultimate, it feels like some kind of 90s generic book. That's what it felt like. It's like somebody trying to...
I don't know. I didn't like it. And Superman, do you read that one?
I read both volumes of that one, and it
3 volumes.
No, I only read the first 2, the first
3
2.
volumes. Well, did you see the movie Man of Steel?
Yeah, of course, and I love Man of Steel. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually loved it. But people hated it.
It's mostly based on Superman Earth 1.
Well, it's also got the Birthright, Superman Birthright as well with Morrison. I mean Wade and Lineal Yu. But yeah, that's like the Green Lantern one looks interesting, but I'm not reserved to actually flip maybe thumb through some pages and
I'm gonna buy it.
But yeah, it's like I'm going to buy it. We're gonna have to wrap up shortly, correct?
Yes. I need to do some
do some manly man work. Manly man work. But Feisty, with everything going on, even with the potential, because like you said, there is a ray of hope. There is a light of hope in the darkness. You'll still try to pick up comics, right? You're not going to
oh God, yes, I'm not going to leave the industry completely. No. God, no. Like I've invested. Like I said, I posted my Move the Needle picture. In 2014, I had 0 comic books. I am now 15 short boxes deep. So
wow. I saw that.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I love floppy copies, like I said, but I have gotten a little overboard. So I do half digital now and half collection, but I go big or go home, but that's my personality. So
if you had to recommend like 2 or 3 books, like if you're somebody who's like whether it be old, new, whatever, like what would you choose? Like it's kind of a closing statement, I guess.
As like what to read now, or
read now, or like say like if you want to get somebody into comics, that kind of thing, like a book that you would like read this if you want to start reading comics. Here, check this out, kind of thing. Because I'm kind of interested because I have a couple different answers depending on the people. Like if it's a guy,
it definitely depends on. I can't give that answer because it depends on the customer. You have to get to know your customer or your audience or what they want. So someone like the other day, someone's like, oh my gosh, I'm really into this. I'm reading watching the movies, but I'm interested in some of Iron Man's backstory. I grabbed a trade of Demon in a Bottle. I'm like, you want to read a good story? Read this. Like, I will always offer up classics if someone is interested in the backstory or history of a character. Yes. Now, if somebody's like, hey, I'm just getting back into it, where do I start? Then I go to modern stuff. I'm like, it's really hard to find the first couple issues of the Rebirth runs, but I always will pull a trade. Like, hey, I don't know if you're into collect or into read, but what character you do like, what type, because obviously if someone's into horror, I'm going to push Lock and Key to somebody, or Witches, which is one of Snyder's really, I don't like horror, but I love that run, his Witches run. So yeah, it's really dependent on the person, and you got to take your time to get to know somebody, and you also have, as a retailer or as somebody recommended, you have to have the knowledge. And funny enough, 2 of our biggest pullers at our store are female, so they spend like $75 to $100 a week at our store. So the whole oh, girls don't, or there's fake. I'm like, no, we exist. We exist. We're just a small breed.
And fake geeks exist too, and they are both male and female.
Yeah. Exactly. Just because you can buy the shirt at Target does not mean that you're.
But I'm not going to discourage somebody that wants to jump in. Like, absolutely not.
No, of course not.
Like again, like I said, I want your money. So.
It's the thing, okay?
You have money to spend, though.
You can be someone getting into comics. That's not a fake geek. A fake geek is someone that goes to Wikipedia and reads a lot, and then talks like he knows shit. And comics were always political. I don't know what you're talking. There never was black people in it. That's a fake.
It's like, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, they're like Storm, Black Panther, Blade. Like, there's been that's another thing. And it's really funny when somebody like it's not okay. We'll be honest here. You don't see a female behind a counter that often. So when like you were saying, like when I get weird customers or creepy customers, they come in and they'll start talking to me, but then it's like they'll throw out little tidbits of like seeing if I know my shit, and then usually like I can start naming artists, writers, letterers, colorists, and they're like, you know, then they back off. It's like, don't fuck with me, I know my shit. Like
there were women in the industry since the 1800s, from the beginning. I mean, working in comics.
It's comic strips, but yeah, comics.
Yeah.
No, comics.
No, comic books actually didn't start until
okay, yes.
I'm talking about comic strips, though. Comic strips go back, a long time.
Yeah, and there were women in there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know?
But don't discount...
I told you this before, Larry. The real queen of comics was Mexican.
Yes.
I told you this before. She owned the biggest company in comics. They owned DC, Marvel, Image, everybody rights to print in Mexico and all Latin America. And they did their own books too. So they were women in comics since forever.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing too. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It really grinds my gear.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you're able to join us today, and hopefully we do it again. Hopefully we're free.
Yeah, I mean, I will join. I'm going to be having a lot of time on my hands later.
Let's hope not. We have to work around your work.
But yes, we are going to be doing one tomorrow. I didn't know, and that'd be about later in the evening.
Unfortunately, I have a standing D&D game that I go to every Friday, so I will not be available.
We understand that the pit awaits you. Hopefully not awaits you.
I don't know. We're halfway through a dungeon, so we'll see. I've almost died twice. Classic dungeon crawls, yeah. But no, and that's another thing too, is I paint miniatures. Like I said, I went to fashion school. I can sew very well. Like I said, I have other creative outlets and stuff. Yeah. So
well, if you decide to go to in that business, we can help you.
Oh, thank you. I know you guys have been so sweet.
We can promote you.
I appreciate that.
We support our own. We actually take care. This thing, it's like you don't have to pass no taste. Yeah, exactly. We are here for you. But that's the thing. We take care of it. We don't just talk the talk. We walk the walk, and that's the important part.
Yeah, and no, that's the way. And that's another thing. While I'll miss the with the brick and mortar closing down, it's just like the kindness and love that is shared with this community is just so special. Like I'm thrilled, and like even for the short time that I was working at my local comic shop, it's just it's been an honor and a privilege to serve the community in our town, and I'm grateful for that opportunity more than anything.
And you know what, this thing you just said, it's one of the things that makes me resent even more the SJWs, because they keep saying we are the bad guys,
Oh,
yeah, that's another reason why I wanted to jump in and be like,
we're not that. We never were.
We're all white supremacists that hate everybody. Yeah, I guess I would technically fit the look of it. White guy, shaved head, living in the South with a Southern accent. Yeah, that probably fit the.
Hey,
look.
I'm a white cis female, so like.
Yeah, well, I mean, like.
And I am a Mexican white supremacist. Remember?
White. We're a very motley crew, but we work together, and that's the part. Because guess what? We love comics. And
I know, right?
Should too.
Yes, but I have more in common with you than with many Mexicans.
I was about to say with you, and I'm like, huh? but
yeah, I definitely would be up for that again. Anybody else that wants to invite me on just to talk, like I said, I'd like to keep my anonymity for the time being.
No problem. I totally get it.
Yeah, but I mean, having insider information is interesting.
I would like to get you on another time just to give you the mic.
Oh, thank you.
And let you go to town with all that info.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff I could talk about Diamond and what's there. Maybe we could save that for another stream. But I've got some information that would upset a lot of people.
You just tell me when.
Awesome. Yeah. No, thank you. It's been a privilege, and it's been great. What was that?
In Mexico, we have a saying. It's "Tú di ranita y yo brinco." It's you say frog and I jump.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You say jump, and I say jump. You say how high. That kind
of exactly. Yeah.
But as if I don't poach you first, Feisty, because I've started my own channel and start doing my own stuff. So if I get you first, I'll poach. Hey man,
are you going to invite to get me there?
I got 5 kids to feed.
Hey, but are you going to get me there? Are you going to get me there?
Well, that's if you're available. I don't know. We're going to try to work that out. I got to make sure I can do a test run.
Very well.
What I'm gonna do? This is gonna be like 2 heroes fighting. Like I'm
no fighting, man. No, I have no problem.
It's like I'm gonna form my Detroit Justice League.
I'm not monetizing my channel, you know.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. We gotta work together. We're over a community. We keep the fighting to a minimum. We're not always going to agree, but
we're going to fight big time because she doesn't like Superman.
Well, yes.
You know,
I know
that's what geeks always fight for.
Yeah,
we'll discuss Superman another time because I've that right there. Like, that seems very hurtful. It hurts my feelings.
Hey, no, I don't. But guess what? And that's another thing too. Is like I might not like something, but I don't be like, oh God, you're reading. You know, I would never do that. It's like, hey, Superman is not my hero. Wolverine is my hero. So.
What about a Rob Liefeld comic though?
The groaning and the cringe just happened.
Well, the worst part is he still he did a Kickstarter 5 years ago for like getting comics out to people's hands, like basically, so the comics still haven't come out.
And he conned the people, no?
Well, that's the thing. It's like I told Braylon, I was like, well, I should have known better. His name is Rob and Liefeld. So you got to be careful. But you gotta be more cautious with certain things. It's like that's like it's like the hamburger. It's like trusting a stack of hamburgers to the hamburger.
The Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah, that Kickstarter gets kind of weird. Yeah. I'm very selective, but. But we'll talk about this next time. Feisty, thank you so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Pleasure having you.
Thank you.
You are a treasure. You are a treasure right here.
Yes, and tomorrow there's revered. I forgot her name. Revered Comics. Revered Comics. What's her name? Name? I'm not finding her here.
Wait, it is.
She went away.
Rebirth Comic at Comic Rebirth will be on tomorrow. Fingers crossed, everything goes well. So yes,
she can. And Nerdy Texan Accountant says he can Tuesday.
Okay, cool. I'm down. Tuesday.
I'm down too.
Yeah.
I'll see if my. But yeah, no. If you guys want me back, I'll just see if my schedule will allow. So yeah.
You just tell us when. You tell me when. Okay.
We'll keep you in the loop. We'll definitely.
I definitely follow my namesake. So yeah.
This thing, thank God you're not no wallflower. Like,
oh God, no, that's not. No. That's not me.
You're very aggressive, very feisty, if I may say so.
Yes. Yes. But I'm respectful. So there's.
Are you a redhead? Are you a redhead in life?
Naturally, no. But right now, I was
like in my head because like you're. It's like so with Rich Corinthian leather. You know,
Yeah.
how important is the skateboard? There's my Larry King thing, because he would ask, how important is this to a very, like, how important is the drums to Motley Crue? Like, what? In closing, could you say, face it, Tiger, you hit the jackpot?
Sure. Face it, Tiger, you've hit the jackpot.
Oh, yeah, that's the way to end the episode.
We're going to say goodbye, guys. See you soon. Glad to have you here.
Thanks again,
Feisty.
guys.
Thanks, Larry.
You're very welcome. Adios, amigos.
Hasta la vista.